355 teams entered the Overwatch Collegiate Cup just a couple months ago, and today, this weekend, we find ourselves with 8 remaining and 1 throne to be filled. I'm Tiny Shiny, joined by Twin Salty to kick off our last weekend of the Overwatch Collegiate Cup of the 2024 spring semester. Twin Salty, we had some incredible matches throughout these past couple of weekends, and it all's starting to roll down to an end here.
Yeah, it is crazy to feel like, all right, this is the final weekend of the semester. This is the final weekend of the playoffs. By the end of the day, Sunday, we will have our national champion, which is an incredible feeling, but it also sucks because we know a few more teams got to go. But tonight, we're up at the upper side for both of our games to see who will be in that upper bracket final tomorrow afternoon.
And throughout these past couple of months, we've had the incredible opportunity to highlight what collegiate esports in North America can look like and can further succeed. And we've moved our way from those tryouts way back in March through the Swiss stage, the group stage, and not to mention all of these other competitions that collegiate Overwatch teams have been playing through just to reach up to this championship. Regardless of whatever tournaments they may have won in the past, Jesse, this one right here, the Overwatch Collegiate Cup, that's the one that's going to set you apart from the crowd.
This is the one that everybody marks on their calendars. Like, this is the one you want to win. Regardless of the other competitions out there, this is one you want to win. You want to win champs. And some of these teams, these 8 teams, are getting eerily close to being able to circle that goal as a success. But, man, it's been a very long semester. Like you said, 355 teams entered in Swiss.
Yeah.
Then we had down to 64 in group stage. And now we're in it now. Championship stage, stage 3, where we only have a few more rounds remaining before we crown that champion.
Yeah, 8 teams, all that are going to stand tall today, 4 of which are within the upper bracket, 4 are within the lower. So since it is a double elimination, we're going to be saying goodbye to 2 more of our teams by the conclusion of our day today, and then eventually crown that champion as we move on towards the end of the weekend.
Yeah, it'll be insane. And like you said, 2 teams will go out tonight. They will not be on stream, but we'll make sure to update everyone when we hear those results coming in from the lower bracket, as those should be some very interesting games down there as well. But it's been, like you said, a long road for these teams, and these teams that we're going to see tonight, Northwood, Fisher, Winthrop, Maryville, they've been going through the ringer, but they've proved that they are 4 of the top and competing for that prize pool, which is just incredible.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, a total of $75,000 are going out to some of these top collegiate organizations right now. And not only are you playing for the individual glory, the title of the best in collegiate Overwatch, but also for some decent cash prizing as well. There's a variety of competitors and types of school programs, clubs that are participating in this event. While we've said goodbye to a lot of the club teams that have been within the top 16, there's a lot that have proven to be heavy hitters with variances in program support. And of course, having this extra boost for scholarships, wherever else it might be, I mean, that is just a great thing for these players to look at and motivate themselves even further to win that championship.
Yeah, even if you were a few of the club teams that weren't able to get out of the top 16 and into the top 8, you still get some money in your pocket, showing that, hey, this was worth it, and you were able to get the success that you were hopefully at least wanting at a base level. And we still do have 1 club team remaining. Rutgers is still kicking. They have guaranteed top 8. They've guaranteed at least 3,000 to share. But I'm very curious. Again, this will be off stream tonight, but how they play against St. Clair, because a clash of playstyles, of clash of everything except confidence. Each team just astound confidence, and I am very curious to see how that one ends up tonight.
And hey, as you should be, every team that is currently still in this bracket 100% deserves to be here. There's not a single doubt in my mind that it was an accident to be reaching this point. And the bracket tells the exact story of what ended up happening, how we got up to today. The 2 matches we currently have in the semifinals will be our broadcasted games, starting out with Fisher Esports and Northwood University. And if you take a look at the path that they took to get here specifically, Fisher Esports Jesse, they've been on a flawless run.
Yeah, they did not drop a map against ASU, did not drop a map against St. Clair, so it's been pretty smooth sailing for them so far. Northwood able to put away the Illini Orange. Rutgers did take a
They
map
did.
off of the Timberwolves, however, so maybe that was a little bit of a wake-up call here for Northwood, who, you know, they've won a lot in the past years, whether it be homecoming and the spring playoffs, but they got to make sure they're on their A game, especially tonight against a Fisher team that is really wanting to finally take down Northwood yet again.
Yeah, those two teams, plenty of history within each other, but you can't talk about the entire bracket of the cows, the bottom half that we're looking at here. Most notable thing, Illinois State University, a team that many, including ourselves, have been coined as the team to make the finals, the one to make that upset run, getting knocked down into the lower bracket in just the quarterfinals here. So now seeing them having to make this massive run back all the way for an opportunity to get to those grands, I mean, that's definitely a match we need to be looking out for today.
Yeah, it is very weird to see. Oh yeah, ISU's in the lower bracket already, but ISU in lower bracket is a very scary thing. They have a tendency to make some nice little runs down there in the lower bracket. So I am very curious to see how they will be able to do down there in lowers. But honestly, for this first game tonight, Northwood and Fisher, like we talked about it a little bit already, Northwood, they won homecoming back in fall.
Yep.
They won last year's collegiate championships. They're looking for 3 in a row. And honestly, it's been pretty hard to say during the semester who will be that top challenger to take down Northwood. But Fisher are, I think, the first true test here for Northwood in this tournament.
Yeah. There's a lot of history between these two teams. If you want to take a peek back to just the Overwatch homecoming tournament that we had last fall, Fisher Esports and Northwood met each other within those winter finals. It was a Northwood win in a 3-2, sent Fisher to lowers. Fisher won, rematched against Northwood in the grand finals, and ended up losing 4-1. Northwood have never lost to Fisher Esports, but if there's any time that Fisher is going to have a chance for this quote-unquote upset, today feels like it's going to be the day.
Today very well could be the day. You know, we were talking with Neb earlier in the week once the new midseason patch came through, and he was talking about like, hey, we haven't beaten Northwood very often when it matters. I think he said he's only beat them twice in like over 20 games against Northwood, which you can tell he is very much wanting to put that story to bed. But this will be an interesting one here for Fisher tonight. This is the lineup we expected. Riker, you'll have Cabe and Lukewarm on DPS, Neb and Grapes on support. And this is a team that is very aggressive. They will be in your face. And I wouldn't be shocked if they're the first team tonight to really try something different.
We had that patch that happened just this past Tuesday, so we're not even half a week past that. And these teams have decided whether they want to make adjustments or not. Fisher are one of those squads that pointed at, like, all right, we have this new patch. There's some changes to these armor. Tanks are now going to play much different into each other, which is why I want to specifically highlight Riker, known for being on TSM and his high level of flexibility. Can he manage to carry Fisher Esports to a win against a stacked and experienced Northwood squad that we're going to get pulled up here in just a second? Because Jesse, you just can't look at one player on that Northwood roster and be like, there's no weak point at all. They're all just so consistent and so strong at what they do, regardless of the role.
Yeah, and honestly, you know, one final bit on Fisher here. You could honestly say the same about this team. Like you look at Riker, just got signed at TSM. Neb has been around for a long time. This is his final run. Same thing for Cabe. So I wonder if there's just a little bit of extra fuel going on for the Falcons right now, knowing that, hey, this is the final run for Neb. This is the final run for Cabe. Let's make sure we make it count. But for Northwood, you could argue it's the same thing. Cowman, who's been around, God, it seems like for ages that Cowman has been around for Northwood. This is his final run. So we'll have to see how Northwood will be able to do that. But like you said, CJ and Vegas, your support line, yeah, that's crazy. Whew. And then Rocket and Haven. Rocket, arguably one of the best tracers we have right now in collegiate, paired with Haven, who's really had it coming out this semester. It's just stardom across the board here for Northwood, and there's no real shock of the success that they've really had over the last year or so.
No, like even having somebody like Cowman who is on his final year and all of this experience piled up behind. You got CJ and Vega who are in Overwatch League, and you said that Rocket's the best tracer in Collegiate. I think there's a lot of people that would go ahead and say he's just the best tracer in North America right now. Like, this
Yeah.
is how good Rocket is on Tracer. And one of the things that you have to look at the other side in Fisher Esports, like, how do you handle Rocket? How do you control this guy? Is there really even a way to do so? We've seen some different swaps from Cabe in particular in attempts to temper some sort of tempo with someone who is as strong on a specific hero as Rocket is. How much is that really going to matter at the end of the day today?
That is the real test here for Fisher going in. How do you shut down Rocket? Because we've seen them single-handedly carry games, right? It's very
Oh,
much like the lethal effect for ISU, where they can just turn it on and they can carry an entire map, dare I say, an entire series. So that is one of the biggest win conditions for Fisher tonight. Can you shut down a Rocket? And especially, can you shut down Haven as well? If you can, you very well may be able to cook up an upset. And, we're going to give a look at the maps now. The first map could show us at least a little bit of the diversity tonight of what we're going to see. It'll be Antarctic Peninsula as our first. We can see the entire map pool here. As,
nice.
yes, there is no Li Jiang. That is the one thing that a lot of teams are like, wait, what? There is no Li Jiang tower on this map pool. But it will be, later on. If you want to see Dive, you can see a lot of it on Numbani. You could see some of it on Midtown. And as we go later and later, those adaptations and the counter picks for maps, especially in this meta, are a very good possibility.
Oh, 100%. Like, especially with that particular map pool that we're working at, more of these comfort maps that a lot of collegiate teams are used to practicing on Screaming, not being in the pool, is a cause for change on its own. So, Antarctic Peninsula making an appearance here as map number 1 has been one of the more popular picks. We've seen quite a bit of Oasis as well, but this kind of tells us here that we're looking more away from the direction of a dive composition and kind of in this space of this brawl. I'm gonna punch you. Who's bringing the hammers to the battle? If we get a Reinhardt today, Jesse, I'm gonna be a happy camper. But let's be honest, Reinhardt, he's not having his days. He's been in retirement a little bit lately. Someone can pull him out. That would be our guy Derpy, who unfortunately got knocked out a little bit earlier within this tournament. So we're looking more at like this Fisher team, who we mentioned before, have made some of these changes to their hero pool just based on this smaller patch, mid-season patch that we had.
It is very interesting to get the team's inputs on what this patch did, because the timing is very weird, right?
It is.
It's the week of the championships. You don't have a lot of time to really pivot. And, some teams said, like Northwood said, not a lot really changed. Like, they're still feeling pretty confident on what they've been running. They may change a few of their map-specific strats, but that's really about it. And then you had Fisher who were like, oh yeah, we feel like it did change a lot. So I wonder, how much does Fisher go off the deep end tonight? How much do they want to change up what they've been running? Compared to Northwood, who's like, we're probably still just going to be running a lot of the Ramatra, Winston, Mauga has been something that they've shown a little bit more than some other teams. So that'll be the big thing tonight. How much does Fisher have to adapt to force Northwood into a very awkward position?
Yeah. So we're dipping our toes into the water, figuring out what is the new strategy as we begin to roll out here in Antarctic Peninsula. And already we're seeing differences in so many areas of these compositions, Jesse.
Yeah, Northwood will show that Ramatra comp that's been pretty meta. Fisher, they're going to try and stick the Mauga. I don't think it's as good as it used to because of the tank change, but Lukewarm's dead. All right, that's a great start.
Hey, the nice thing about running into a Mauga as a Sojourn is it's just like it's a railgun battery. It's like I charge, I shoot somebody and south the Mauga. I charge off the Mauga, I shoot somebody and south the Mauga. I mean, that's what Haven's doing. He's having an absolute field day on this high ground, and that's simply all it's going to take for Northwood specifically to kind of farm down Fisher and even grab a couple of these later eliminations. Wait! They got two more boards! Why did they go so up? They didn't even go back to cap the point, Jesse! Oh my gosh! That's Northwood, a team that we're so used to seeing play this tempered aggression, won the first fight basically, and then just threw it all away.
They didn't realize that Lukewarm was going to be back so fast. Lukewarm comes in, they help finish off the fight with Cabe, who almost has Pulse Bomb already. You can see them kind of chilling here up on the box. They're going to try and catch Northwood lacking. But what a nice little turnaround here for the Falcons in a fight, like you said, I think a lot of people thought was over.
I think the entirety of Northwood thought that that was set and done, but now here you are, having to fight this back again. Cave beating Rocket to this initial pulse bomb. It's a stun and quick one-click in kill. Beautiful combination. Cave with a second. We mentioned that Rocket was the one to counter, but so far, we've only seen Cave just absolutely dominate off of these squashes that Riker's been putting in.
It's the gorgeous setup that this Mauga comp can still set up, regardless of the tank change. Yes, Comban, their life maybe is 10% easier. It doesn't feel like you're getting melted 24/7 anymore on tank. But when Riker goes in like that, as soon as they pound down, Cave can go in, finish a kill. At that time, it was Haven. You're going to see that over and over and over again, and it might draw out the Suzu from CJ early.
Oh, but no! Rocket put out the pulse bomb, and it gets nowhere. Lukewarm absolutely shuts him down. Is the cage fight now underway? Sound barrier from Northwood pop. Grape still holding on to his. That could change the course of this fight, but no! Riker falls before the beat hits the ground. It's an intense first ultimate battle that cost Northwood 4 of their ultimates, and it's a battle they're gonna end up losing. Fisher, are they about to sweep round number 1?
They might. Honestly, Neb is the MVP there. They put down the window right on the outside of the cage, which, by the way, comment, they give up. They will swap over to the Mauga now. They put it right behind. It keeps Riker up a little bit. Doesn't keep them up enough. But when Northwood make that push forward, Cave still sticks behind the window and just melts Comment, who is trying to get the rest of that annihilation out.
Oh, this is hard now because it's really only Haven's overclock that Northwood have to fall back onto in this last second, though. Riker gets stunned up. Beautiful combination. When it comes to the cost of the hit scan player, Cave, pulse bomb in the pocket. Can he manage to find anything? Fisher are up and winning, even if the point isn't in their control. It's more on Northwood for a solid recovery, but being down in numbers, and especially within this ultimate economy. The final contest here is unlikely. It's only now that Fisher are deciding to recontest this point, though, buying more time, but Vega going down. Oh, that's going to hurt Northwood badly once they try to go in. Dowman even on the Doomfist just for these last second little touch in, touch out, and Lukewarm. Oh, he isn't just warm, he is hot right now. Deadeye isn't even needed at this point with just the plain old shots that he has hitting. Fisher Esports coming out with a great understanding of how this composition should be played today.
Script writers are feeding us good, Molly. I'll say that. Yeah. If this is what this series is going to be, not what I thought this was going to be initially. It's like, yes, the Mauga is still great if you run it correctly, but that's been the big asterisk that's been going around the scrims recently is you need to play it really well, or it's not going to work. And Fisher, well, they played it damn near perfect during that attack. And Northwood now, they got to figure out, hey, what is the change? We talked about it earlier. How quickly can Fisher make the swaps happen? I didn't think it'd be round 1, some map 1 of Antarctic Peninsula. But they do force the changes to be made, and now we're in a full-on mirror, except CJ will still stick with the Kiriko. So it won't be as much heal output going out, but a little bit more of that just quick duration and vulnerability compared to Neb, who they're going to be banking on those immortality fields, sitting around those corners to be in a really difficult spot to deal with.
Fisher, though, are going to benefit more off of taking these fights slower and controlling more of this space. Northwood have to be a lot slower in the way that they actually approach these games, because it takes a lot longer to heal with a Kiriko than it would a Baptiste, and we're already starting to see some of this pay off. It's a lot of this just wait around and sit for someone to get an elimination. Haven, in this specific scenario, will get that shot down before Lukewarm can react himself. It'll be Northwood gaining this first capture.
Yeah, they basically use Comment as bait. He goes in, grabs the Mega, gets out, while the rest of Fisher, not Fisher, Northwood, are shooting Fisher in the back. Haven this time starting to warm up on the Cassidy after playing Soj first time around, and now it's Fisher on the attack.
Woo! Jeez, but here's the thing, though. What can you do when Haven is just clicking heads? He's already 82% to a Deadeye. What can stop him, though, is Calman and Vega going off into La La Land. Fisher Esports are going to be happy with that ult charge and the point flip likely to come on through. Can Fisher really grab any more without staggering is more the question that we're looking at. It's Northwood, that was a rough finish.
Yeah, that was a rough finish to that fight. Like you said, Northwood are trying to more methodically think of how they want to go at these fights. Fisher realized, like, hey, let's not give them that opportunity.
No.
Let's just go in, force Comment into an awkward spot, and if they use Suzu early, you just int on the Comment because you know that Suzu's gone, and you can honestly just out-damage and out-heal Northwood.
Ooh. Deadeye speeding onto the high ground. Riker knows that he's in trouble. Tried to stun it. He's not going to live. Fan the hammer. Ton of bullets and one dead Mauga. Ooh, Fisher, that window is going to get absolutely no value. Now that the fight is taking place on the low ground, and Northwood make that recapture look relatively easy. They don't have full control of the fight, though. They weren't really yet to take care of Lukewarm, and it's only now that they can slowly let out Cyber.
Yeah, that window just doesn't get a lot. Like you said, Neb uses it on high ground to try and keep Riker up, but Riker dies immediately. And at that point, Northwood's like, yeah, we'll just go to lower ground. We can just cap point. We don't need to deal with you up there. And that's exactly what they do. And now, almost 60%, Northwood starting to stabilize in this map. And both teams have the sound barrier ready, but it's Lukewarm just entering in with the Deadeye for space.
There's the zoom in Deadeye, and it's going to take a chunk out of Cowman's house, sending him 6 feet under. Lukewarm, excellent use of that speed boost combination to move forwards, but another advantage running this Kiriko is the increased cooldowns. This Kitsune Rush so much more valuable, at least if you're playing in it. The rest of Northwood just opted to go towards the objective with the loss of their tank, and it's just another ultimate forward down the drain.
Yeah, another ultimate going, like you said. CJ, I wonder if that was more like, hey, can I keep everybody up with this? But then Lukewarm's just distracting them. The healing isn't actually coming out. That was a great little setup there from Fisher to deny that Kitsune rush. Grapes did have to use the sound barrier, though. Vegas still has theirs for the cage coming in from Riker. Command doesn't have to deal with it with this, but both come out. Wow.
Well, this is a brawl if I've ever seen one. Double cage fights. There's pulse pumps going left, right, and center. Sound barriers, but the team who had the sound barrier still loses their tank anyways. This room is filling with the blood of Fisher Esports now, but it ain't pretty for Northwood. Who's going to come out on top of all this brawl? It's only the Tracers, Cabe and Rocket, battling it out for really the entire objective right now. CJ is back a little bit faster, though, and Rocket shuts Cabe down, forcing Fisher to scramble for any last-second touches that they may have. No ultimates really on their side. If they can get a window, a Deadeye sure is possible. How staggered, though, that last battle ended up going. The scrappiness and the utter chaos that just occurred. Northwood are going to squeak away with the second point.
Northwood, they kept the point when that cage fight's going on. So the percentage is already going in their favor. Fisher needed to get back quick, and that's why you saw such a scramble up there on the...
And we are back to continue our map number 1 of the Fisher Esports versus Northwood University match today. We've already made it pretty much most of the way through our control map, Jesse. Each team is tied up at 1 apiece, leaving it down to our decider coming up, an icebreaker.
Yes, icebreaker will be round 3, and yeah, that was quite a round 2. That was again, apologies
It
for
hurt my brain.
technology doesn't always. Yeah, it was a lot going on. Double cages at the end, and I did at least like seeing that Northwood are like, hey, we'll just match the Maga. If you really want to go that route, we tried to do it to ISU. It didn't work out very well against ISU in the past for Northwood, but this is a different patch, and they do feel like they are getting better, and they've kind of pushed away those woes that they've had over the last few weekends. So as we get ready now for icebreaker, I want to believe that from Rocket. I don't know if it's real, but if we got to see some Venture, I would not be, mad by any stretch of the imagination.
Hey, one can dream, honestly. I do give kudos, though, to Northwood for being willing to adapt. They have a history of being very stubborn with the compositions that they do end up playing. And it takes a while before it starts. Wait, Rocket! Wait!
Rocket!
We actually get some Venture gameplay!
Spotted!
What?
I love it. Yeah, let's see what they can do with Venture. It could be a nice little answer, as Cape thought they were going Tracer. They're on Torp. So, honestly, the Torp pick may not get as much as they think it will.
Like, it's still a decent amount of poke and chip damage. Riker now, too, is on the Ramatra as well. So, Fisher made a couple different changes to how that they've been playing before. So, I'm really interested to see where this Venture goes. Like, Rocket still plays Venture to a very similar style as Tracer does. A ton of high damage that the hero can provide. And that's just Neb chucked right up into the air before shortly slapped down. I love to see the extra initiation that we have. Fisher seemed to be caught completely off guard by that play.
They were just, you could tell they looked like, wait, what? Like Riker looked over, was so confused, like, oh, Venture's here. It's not Tracer, and you have to play around that completely differently if you're Fisher. That's why already Riker's like, all right, I guess we're just going back to the Mauga. They thought it was going to be Ramir. Instead, it's Northwood who are confident in their own little variation. I love this.
I love it. There's so much opportunities for synergy, but of course, just hitting shots as well. Haven already Deadeye online, but he doesn't even need it with just the amount of shots that he's been hitting. And Vega cleaning up the field as well. He's getting hyper aggressive with this team. That's the advantage of having. Why did we just sound barrier? Oh my gosh, Fisher! Graves pulled the trigger on that one. Over half the team was already dead. Jesse, they're gonna want that one back.
The grapes turned sour real quick on that sound barrier. That was, you could tell they were trying to save Riker. Like, I understand what they were trying to do. It was just maybe a second too late for Fishers. That is one of your biggest ultimates out the window. And now CJ's in a great spot to use Kitsune with Haven. Rocket's on the flank again.
I mean, they have no idea what's coming with Rocket. I mean, Lukewarm just gets smacked down to size. Cowhand wishes that they had the sound barrier a little bit sooner. Vega doesn't quite catch him. So maybe Grips throwing away the sound barrier before. It doesn't seem to matter. It's all up to Rocket now. The tectonic shock is destroying the underneath them feet. Fisher dropping like dominoes. I never expected this Venture to be working as well as it has, but it's Rocket, Jesse. Anything can happen.
Who cares about the nerfs?
Who cares?
Venture can still work in certain situations, and Fisher, you can tell, they don't know what to do. They don't know how to play around it with the Tracer, and Double Cage is back.
Yeah, Double Cage is back. Haven has the Deadeye. Fisher does not. Wow. Northwood explode out of the gates here on Icebreaker after a rocky start, to say the very least. And in fact, it is that very rocky ending that will be resulting for Fisher. Unpresented Venture swaps. Gets the tip, rolls over the edge, and will end up claiming map number 1.
I love that. Like, I honestly, going in, again, we said, oh, Fisher, how are they going to force Northwood to change? But in reality, Fisher couldn't figure out how to fix the changes that Northwood actually went in with. This was the play we talked about earlier. I hope it was actually, I think it was still visible at that point, of Cabe using the window to take down the Annihilation, but... Yeah, what a nice little tease there from Northwood. Something that at least we haven't seen from them.
No.
At all is the Venture coming out. I haven't seen it from any collegiate team as of late. So unless it's something they've been trying to test out in scrims, it's a nice little wild card to really seal a map away that honestly it seemed like Fisher could have thrown in their favor.
especially with how well Lukewarm was doing pretty much the entirety of this map, and all it took was a little curveball to throw Fisher through a loop. And I do want to mention too here, and to be totally honest with you, this was kind of scrappy. This is like uncharacteristically sloppy from both sides. An utter chaos slugfest is the best way that you can describe how this first map went, and it just leans into the nature, the fire, literally, that Mauga can set to any sort of coordinated team gameplay, and genuinely can allow for teams that may not necessarily be matching up in some mechanical skill departments to come back up and rise against some of these top level teams that we're seeing.
Yeah, honestly, I'll give credit when credit's due to Fisher. They definitely,
They
that
did.
first round, they looked great.
Was great.
Like, they're like,
We
all
loved
right,
it.
cool, we're gonna run this Mauga comp, and then Northwood's like, all right, let's chill down, just a little bit. Like, we are the defending champs for a reason. Let's figure out what we actually need to do. And the tech pause, I think, maybe helped a little bit. Maybe that's when they cooked up that comp. I would love to hear their input later if they do win this series, but no, that was a great little change there from Northwood. Do I think we'll see more Venture? It's hard to say, because Venture admittedly is probably best on, control, on push, on Flashpoint, more of these brawly types of maps, but it may just depend on where Fisher want to take us now for hybrid. Like, they could go Kings Row, which is, all reliable. We could, also see Midtown, weirdly enough, we've seen a lot of as of late. So I wonder if that's the direction we'll be going in as well, but honestly, for the Falcons at this point, do you want to try and go to a poke map when Cowman is on the other side and could just play Sigma?
That's
but the answer to that is no.
Okay, yeah. This is much more reasonable. Picking something like a Midtown or a Hollywood opens the door for Cowman to play Sigma. And if you've ever seen Cowman on the Space Grandpa, let me tell you, you haven't seen it for long, because you are dead when you look him in the eyeballs. So picking something like King's Row is going to force a very similar composition to what we just saw back on Antarctic Peninsula, potentially with a couple tweaks, specifically within the damage department. Unlikely to see any more of that Venture, but if we do, we'll be here for it every day of the week.
Oh, I would love to see more Venture. Like, that for me is like, oh my god,
great.
Like, Venture's there. Like, honestly, I love that they were able to get pulled out by Northwood. Credit to them to at least pull out a comp we haven't seen a whole lot of. Will we see that in Kings Row? With it being Scrims Row, I don't know. Everybody kind of understands what they want to play on this map. It is, probably the most scrimmed map alongside Lijiang Tower for a reason. So I wouldn't be shocked. Teams like, all right, we're just going to kind of go back to vanilla. A lot of Ramattra. Maybe we see some Winston. I've seen more and more Winston played on Kings Row over the last year or so. So it really depends on what these teams want to run. But considering these two teams, they love Brawl. They're slightly less lenient on the dive. I have a feeling it would be more brawly, whether it be Mauga or the Ramattra.
We'll see one either way. It does seem that, because even if somebody wants to play the Ramattra a bit more, if one of the other tanks is playing the Mauga, you're just like if you're Ramattra, you're playing the game, sure, but the earth is on fire. Your team is on fire. Everything is on fire, and you're not having as much fun. Making the Ramattra work against a Mauga is a lot harder in terms of your timing windows and just generally how you have to pace your play style completely around whether you're on fire or not. So the Mauga seems to be the default now for a lot of these teams. Once we actually get these compositions out, particularly on this defensive end, those will be locked in. I'm fully expecting whoever's defending to start on the Mauga, just being that it is a safer option in a lot of these situations here. You're going to want to have this more tanky frontline presence that can burn down anything sort of unexpected that you may be looking at.
Yeah, especially on the defense, you want to play it so much safer because, one wrong move and that cart is already going. Point A is capped through archway. And on this map especially, it can really snowball into a horrendous position for the defense. So whoever is on defense first will be a little bit more passive on how they want to pick this. And that'll be Fisher. And like you said, they're going to just start with the Ramattra, but they will go with the May variant, which we've seen a little bit here and there. Honestly, Fisher's been one of the teams that have been pushing it the most, especially in other competitions. We've seen them push it a little bit more frequently than other teams. So I don't mind it here. Try and catch Cowman on these rotations off guard, or try and block off the heals coming in from CJ and Vega. But for now, Rocket is still on Venture. We'll see how long, if that actually lasts, or if it's bait. It's bait this time around.
Sad.
There's also, well, there was a Mercy. Okay,
Yeah,
I was going to say, if CJ stuck that, I had a lot of questions.
I'm glad we're getting some Echo gameplay in today. She was another hero that had a slight buff come in, just with her, when she activates her ultimate, the duplicate, that ult charge then goes up even faster. And not to mention, Echo, as you can see, just does tons and tons of damage here. So Rocket has the ability to go in and assassinate and blow up these massive targets. You can already see the amount of pressure that Riker is under. If you are going to run a Ramatra, you need to make sure that Riker's life is as difficult as possible. Rocket has made that his #1 priority and has bought Northwood a ticket straight onto this objective, clearing these players off. Haven is going into the back line. Fisher had nowhere grouped up to actually retreat to, and they're going to have to pay for that as a result. We haven't seen a single May wall go up this entire time, Jesse, which is crazy to have to say.
Yeah, there it is. The first
one
finally goes down to try and block off CJ, but it's a little too late.
Yeah, way too late, as a matter of fact. And if you are going to play the May, it works in theory, right? But Northshire just backed off so quickly, and now they're just paying the prices for it, committing whatever ultimates they do have, such as the Ant Matrix on the high ground. Yet Northwood, specifically Rocket, has all of his bases covered. I've seen very little of him on the Wet Echo, and even just this clip now, Jesse, I want to see more of it.
Yeah, like that won them the fight. Point blank. Like you said, it keeps Riker away. It keeps Riker playing passive because it's so much damage coming in to where if you get under half health, Rocket, if you're not careful, it's just going to melt you. And it's going to force out the lamp from Neb. You don't have the protection Suzu for a little quick fix. You more have to play the lamp to get them out and then heal them up and pray Northwood don't get aggressive on you. During the meantime, that's what they did initially, and it caught up Lukewarm. So now that cart is already through Arch, and they'll have to fight it out here in the middle of streets.
We're used to seeing Fisher play so incredibly aggressive, and they have to press the sound barrier and even the blizzard just as an attempt to stay alive. These attempts will not go down in vain, and it cost Northwood 2 of their major ultimates as well. Fisher had to stop the bleeding and show that there is some sort of standing room for this composition, and this is it right here.
And this is where they can hold now. They can try and use the Maywalls to hold under Archway. And see, they'll have to wait, though, just a tiny bit to get Neb back in the picture. But that is a great fight for them. Rocket has swapped back over. So this is not bait coming out from Northwood. Comments back over to the Mauga. Rocket back over to Venture. So this is something, again, we were waiting to see what wild cards would be shown this weekend. Northwood continue to show that Venture is viable.
Yeah, I mean, Rocket just plays the Venture the exact same way, getting a trade out for Neb. That's a much more valuable pick in the long run. If Fisher Esports want to stay alive, they're gonna have to get these eliminations quickly, but it's Lukewarm that ends up getting pushed into the backline. The cage fight here doing absolutely nothing other than just corralling Riker down to his own death. Northwood, gonna keep this payload on a moving. Wonderful change from Rocket. Jeez!
Yeah, they just catch Fisher off guard, like, oh, they're being aggressive, and by the time they realize that Cage is used, it's too late. Grapes doesn't have the sound barrier yet to try and counteract the push coming in from Northwood. And even though, yes, this card's going to take her just a nice little break there in the middle of the street, Northwood still have plenty of time. Just under 3 minutes to get this going. Rocket almost has the ult available already. That'll be the only one they have access to, however. Fisher may have that Blizzard with Window to try and keep them alive here in second phase.
Cave has to get this up ASAP. And Rocket is dropping down from above, and then can't even blink before he just falls over. The sound barrier is down, and Grapes on their last leg. Cave, Blizzard can be chucked in at any point. Now is the time. Rocket trying to keep his team alive with a tectonic shotgun. It doesn't hit anybody at all, so a rare miss with that ultimate is going to cost him his life. Fisher still staggered out. Northwood, slight room of opportunity for them to work with, especially if they can manage to grab Riker, which is the case. Haven trying to charge up a lot of these rail shots, knowing the mortality field is out. If the amount of healing pumped into Lukewarm right now, yeah, you ain't winning that one, pal.
You can tell, like, oh, maybe we can bring this back, you know, comments coming back, and then it's like, no. You know, Lukewarm shut that all down. They don't need to use Window. Cabe will go on to the Tracer now. Might be honestly marking Rocket more than anybody else to make sure, like, hey, this Venture can't get away with what they're getting away with right now. Northwood, with how long that push happened took, though, they only have about 2 fights at this with the current time bank. They gotta make sure it counts because they have a lot of ults to work with.
You put even 2 of these ultimates together, though, it should be a recipe for success. Northwood cage fight into the back line and shreds right through Lukewarm. The Kitsune Rush accelerating these cooldowns, furthering the damage that Fisher Esports are forced to intake, and of course, way too much for them to handle. Fisher having to back off here. Riker is still alive and close to a cage fight, but would not recommend coming in to use the ultimate if possible. Okay, you know what? That's okay.
What?
You can do that too and just waste the ultimate. I really hope he's switching after that, because that is a rough one from Riker.
I pray he's swapping. Oh, please tell me you're swapping, Riker. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
That was maybe one of the most questionable ults I've ever seen if it was not. Well, I don't mind the swap for Fisher, and as I said, the Cave gets decked, so maybe the swap not working out great so far for Cave, but they'll try to play it way more passive. They're going to try to absorb that pressure coming in from Cowman, using Riker in the front line, and try and play just a little bit slower.
A little bit more lukewarm. Going to catch any players from Northwood willing to peek their heads out. No one's going forwards at this time with both sound barriers on board. Haven and Rocket popping their ultimates at the same time, hoping the damage can overwhelm them. And it is more than enough. Haven shot down from the top ropes. Gets it a second in Grapes. Woo! Northwood absolutely frying right now. Fisher has made so many changes during this match. None of them have sticked. While I'd say go back to the drawing board, try it again. Guess what, Fisher? You're running out of meterage. Only 2.8 remain at Northwood. Need to inch their way over the edge. Lukewarm is nasting along the rest of Fisher being gate-kept by Cowman. It'll be a minute 22 finish for the Northwood Timberwolves.
It's important that it got over a minute as well. That means Fisher, they got to finish with time, or no matter what, the best they can do is a draw on this map. I love that Northwood are not afraid to make changes. And they put Fisher in such awkward positions. You tell so many times, like, how do we go against the Venture? Which has probably been since Venture came out that they've had to scrim against Venture. Because we haven't seen them a lot in the top tier play. We've seen them occasionally here and there, but nothing at, the level that these teams are playing at. So it's throwing a wrench in the entire plan of the Falcons. And you can tell there's just that slight hesitancy that we're not used to seeing from the Falcons whatsoever. We're so used to them being up in your face, pushing the tempo. And it almost seemed like they were just hesitating a slight amount. And now Northwood, maybe playing a bit of the mind games. They will not bring out Venture on the defense. It'd be a little more tricky because instead of, you know exactly where you're flanking, you know exactly where you're trying to initiate. On defense, especially on King's Row, that can be a little more difficult. So they'll go a little more safe and have Rocket be in the air with the Echo to challenge Cape.
We're used to seeing Fisher drive the tempo of games, and now said bus has backed over them not once, but twice here in this matchup so far. Rocket has been the driver for Northwood Esports, but incredible gameplay all around from supporting in his team, forcing swaps out of Fisher, now back onto the Malga, as well as Cape's Tracer.
Oh, CJ is a little bit of poke. It's like, you know. It's just a few percent up there. Fisher more than likely would try and rotate all the way to high ground. That or just rotating in the back line through Hotel. That's what they'll do. They're going to try and catch Rocket. Just gets out of the way in time. Yeah.
Forcing point here, though, is a great idea. Northwood have to drop at some point into Riker, which is actually what you don't want to do. So Rocket needs to be on anti-Riker duty, chuck every single sticky bomb, poison beam down into that tank. And look, he's already having so much fun. The immortality field forced out of Neb, and that's an aggressive extent. Vega! Oh, no. They got so confident there. Northwood, one of their weaknesses has been, even if they look like they're winning these fights, they just have these small moments of ego pushing, as we just saw, and it's turning a fight that looked winnable into a lost one.
Yeah, Fisher is like, all right, if you want to overextend us a little bit, Vega, yeah, cool. We'll take it all day. As like you said, they just force Cowman to drop early. They don't have the support there because, again, they were running the Kiriko. They were not running the BAP, so it can be a little more difficult to keep your RAM up in that kind of a situation. And that's why Cowman is like, all right, I give up trying to run the RAM. We're just going to run the funny Mauga and go from there because there is no reason to try and run Ramacha into this right now. Their life is going to be a living hell. So they're going to now deal with that. But Neb has aggro window.
It's a great positioning of the window as Calman didn't stand up at the speed of light and just walk right through the rest of the team. Riker causing chaos within the backline. This is still winnable for Fisher Esports, especially since their spawns are significantly closer. Rocket's duplicate, the pulse bomb, goes a little bit wide, but he's on his best character. Surely can make something second. No! The second pulse bomb misses as well. Two categorically rare misses from the Echo player. Trying to cost Northwood that battle.
Wow. All I can say is wow. I was initially going to say Neb's window, as aggressive as it was, like you said, Northwood has pushed right through it, but Riker actually used it to their advantage.
Yeah.
When Northwood trying to push in, they punished the back line when they were going in, and it turned it all the way around. And in desperate need, who comes out again for Northwood? It's Rocket back on Venture again.
Okay. Like this incredible burst damage and can just explode players before they can even blink. The cage fight used defensively, blocking the Deadeye. It'll be even mowed down at the speed of light. Northwood tried to move up and take the aggressive initiative, yet Lukewarm, Riker were far and ahead of the plans Northwood had, are making a speed run at the second point.
We thought Northwood's attack was good through the first two phases. Fisher, like, we're going to do even better. Like, this is an insane pace. This is the Fisher we're used to. There is no hesitancy right now. It is just go, go, go from Fisher. And 5 minutes on the time bank going into third phase. It is insane, but there's still a lot of work that needs to be done. Northwood have both support ults. They're just going to rush in.
Yeah, if you're Northwood, you have to win this fight, and getting that extension over onto Lukewarm, completely expected with the Kitsune Rush. You use one, you get out, and just try to burn as much time off the clock, forcing another swap out of Riker. Oh.
Yeah, okay. Riker's like, okay, whatever. Actually, yeah, they're just gonna...
We got baited.
I'm not sure what that was about. Okay. Ooh, Rocket is in a very awkward spot right now. I wonder if they get punished for this? No, they're able to get out.
No.
But it does give Fisher a little more space. Oh, no, they're still up. Oh, it's...
Okay, well, it's both Cassidy's traded 1-for-1. Rocket is still alive, and Vega has the sound barrier that he's been holding on since that last engagement, so this works out pretty well, unless Calman didn't just yoink them all back together. Oh, no! Northwood thought that they had Fisher under lock. We're actually able to get that cleaned out. Unfortunately, it costed a lot more than they anticipated on using. Rocket!
Ew, that was, a little close, Rocket. Not as easy of an escape as Recall is. But I love it, yeah. They have to use the cage there, which isn't ideal for Northwood, obviously. They want to keep it, but it's a worthy ult to try and keep this going. Already a minute and a half gone.
Wow.
And this cart's only went about 10 or so meters.
It's not too bad, though. Northwood can re-engage relatively soon. The Kitsune Rush already back online. CJ built that up in, what, 1.5 fights? I mean, he's doing incredible work for Northwood. They're really relying on both CJ and Vega right now for these long holds.
These rotations on the ults are excellent from the Timberwolves right now. They seem to have almost every single fight. They're rotating them well. Comment already 50% to cage. Rocket will have theirs. Haven has Deadeye just to delay some time with. And hopefully by the end of this fight for Northwood, Vega may have the sound barrier back already for Rikers if they play it right.
The ult management from Northwood has been incredible so far. Rocker, tectonic shock, but with no cooldowns here, and Cade checking him out. That's not gonna end well at all. Rocket got way too aggressive, and now Cade can run ahead uncontested. Neb falling shortly after, though. Northwood, as I said before, have been cycling their ultimates relatively well, and that's just the pick that Fisher needs to, like, all right, hit the brakes. We need to slow down where we're playing, sending Riker just to get the Mega Pack.
Yeah, Riker goes over there to grab Mega, and now is trying to get out, but they ult! What?
Oh, no! Wow, that was such a risky play. Riker thought he could do it to stay alive, but Northwood were way too close to him for any of that burst feeling to come through. Grapes could have popped the sound barrier, but now as Fisher, you'd rather just be happy that you can hold on to this, because these last 3 minutes have been brutal.
Ay, Fisher. That's a rough pill to swallow on that ult for Riker, which... that's one of your main win conditions. Now you have to play maybe aggro with beef, but you know Combat has cage, and they have Kitsune Rush.
I mean, that's all the ultimates. Graves barely gets his own sound barrier off. Calman can just wait till the sound barrier expires, use all the overhealth down, lock him into place, and just push Fisher through the shredder. These ultimate fights have not been going the way of Fisher at all.
They can't get any momentum. They had such great momentum in the first two phases, and Northwood have just had perfect hold after perfect hold. They know exactly when to retreat and reset for a moment, and now they're going to catch Fisher maybe again on the entry.
They're going to try. Haven, Deadeye, speaking on board. Both the boys are isolated, and this fight is going to end almost as quickly as it started. Vega, a wonderful boof out into the sightlines of the Cassidy player, and Northwood, you blink and you miss it.
What is life? What is the series? Like, Northwood have done a complete 180 of our expectations after the first 2 phases of this map. It is Fisher who look just lost right now. They don't know what to do. 5 minutes going in, 50 seconds now here for the Falcons to try and make something of this map.
Fisher have to be getting frustrated, and at this point, you have nothing to do. You're walking into the tectonic shock that Rocket is laying down. It chips everybody's health bars, but Hellman and Haven, they overstayed their welcome into the backline. Northwood got a little bit too cocky, and Fisher slowly are getting themselves back on their feet, the wind in their sails for one final attempted push.
And the big thing is they keep dupe. They didn't have to use much there at all. So at least ultimate-wise, they have something to work with. The downside is they won't have any time left in the bank. If they do capture this, the best they can do in this map now is a draw, which, again, is very doable with only 122 for Northwood, but they got to win this fight first.
DJ, only the Kitsune rush now for Northwood. Fisher will benefit if this fight can go longer for them, building up towards the support ultimate. Came duplicating. Now we have 3 Malgas on the field. The sound barrier extra tanking to that own duplicate. Northwood's health bars are struggling to stay up, especially with Vega falling just side of that sound barrier. So Fisher, against their struggles that they face heading into 3rd points, bashing their heads against the wall, have sat back up in their gamer chairs and pushed through a 3rd point.
It's decent compared to how a lot of that map went. Because, yeah, that was rough, admittedly, to watch for about 4 minutes. It was just Northwood pounding them time after time, fight after fight, and they at least get something going. Who knew, 3rd Maga, thank God, didn't crash the lobby. That was my one worry at first when I saw that pop out. But now it's like, okay, you only need to win give or take 2 fights in a stall if you're able to win the first 2 on this defense. It's not like it's an impossible situation here for the Falcons. The downside is Northwood on their attack looked so clean on theirs, but the one downside of it is they took the long way around. They tried to go on top on a high ground to try and take that over. If they do that longer push again, and if they fail at this time, it really will not leave them a lot more tries to try and at least edge out this map and avoid a tie.
It's going to be a tough run. Fisher, one of those squads who've always hovered around these top 5 teams, but that experience, that extra level that Northwood have been competing at for longer, it's really starting to show in a lot of these planned out engagements, more methodical approaches compared to the chaotic that Fisher like to shove into people's faces. Hasn't worked out so far. Now being on the Torbjorn for Cabe, additional poke, perhaps expecting more of this Tracer, but Rocket back on the Echo. As always, we saw how quickly this allowed Northwood to take the first point last time, and he might just do it again. That is the trade there, though. Rapes got himself into the backline, snagged Haven before any more damage could be done. So Northwood still have to be cautious about this initial game that they take. Cabe returning on the Tracer, so he'll be back in just a moment. The matter is, how do you really get back onto this objective? Riker can charge in at any point, but he needs to be careful, particularly with the threat looming on above. Rocket, Haven controlling this high ground and denying a lot of this positioning that Northwood eventually are just going to completely dominate. Fisher are running down on 30 seconds here. No one has moved toward the objective.
Northwood just have to reset at this point. You cannot afford to have anybody fall. And there it is. Big pick on Cabe again.
Massive from Vega. He hunted, came down, baited him in, chopped him down to size, and Northwood will be cleaning up Fisher on the King's Row. One scrappy heck of a map to put Northwood up on match point.
Just waited and waited and waited. Like, hey, we know one of you is going to try and get aggressive. Which one of you will it be, and how can we punish? And it was Vega who is able to punish there for Northwood, even though it is Neb who, during the double Maga mayhem here from Fisher, is able to get play. But yes, that's honestly, for Fisher, it was at least a decent stabilization considering how the end of their attack went. But obviously considering how the beginning of their attack went and their defense not going horribly, Yeah, it's a rough map for the Falcons who, yeah, like you said, they need to bring it all the way back in a reverse sweep now to avoid the brooms.
It's a rough play style that you have to go against. Northwood are as lethal as they are because Northwood is known for this very methodical type of play that isn't full on just I'm gonna run at you and know that I'm better than you. It's waiting on their opponents to make mistakes. And we saw that in multiple fights that the Timberwolves ended up taking throughout this map today, forcing Fisher out of position, making them get antsy and walk straight into the clutches of somebody like Rocket, even Vega at points. This is the Timberwolves that Fisher have faced off against time and time again, and their strat of just hyper forcing the tempo onto their opponents has once again hit a wall.
At this point, if you are Fisher, what is the change? You know, like, what is the move? Because it's been a rough series so far overall. Yes, you've had your moments to shine. We've seen moments where Lukewarm is really popping off. Nebs and Grapes have done great. But, you know, we talked about it at the very beginning. How flexible can a Riker be? And honestly, they've been doing fine. It's little mistakes like this. Cave dies first in both of these important fights. They just get a little bit too deep in the sauce, and they just get shut down. Northwood is not a team that will allow you to get away with those kind of plays. And I wonder if Cabe is looking at himself right now like, hey, we need to figure this out because we can't be making these same kind of mistakes.
Especially with Northwood, too. Like, my mind's still stuck on that 3rd-point defensive hold that Northwood had.
Yeah,
like,
that was insane.
They had over 5 minutes that had to hold. You got it down to an overtime, forcing it into a win-draw situation. Like, that's regrouping and using your team macro play to its highest strength. There hasn't really been one player that's been shining above the rest. They're just so dang good at playing off of one another, and it never really gave Fisher a chance to breathe or reset. They just kind of kept running on in and hoping for the best possible result. Things like that aren't going to fly against a lot of these teams, such as Northwood and those that we're going to see in Maryville, in Winthrop. If Fisher want to keep themselves in this upper bracket, not only are they likely going to need to figure out where Cabe needs to be positioned on what hero, but also as a team, how can they adjust their play style to match a lot of these more tempo teams, such as Northwood?
Yeah, and that is the big question right now because, like you said, yes, it's not the end of the world. If they lose here, they still have the lower bracket to go to, but it could be a rough stretch down there in the lower bracket, especially with the way ISU is playing. Esperança will be our map, which tells me they're maybe looking at a dive to maybe go to on this map, trying to maybe pull that Winston comp out. Maybe they try and go, you know, the Reaper Sombra version of the Mauger comp that we've been seeing a little bit here and there. Or it's like, hey, is this just your most comfortable push map? Which, again, it very well just might be as simple as that. But an interesting choice here for Fish because we've seen a lot of New Queen Street and Caliseo as of late.
Yeah.
But Esperança has really been kind of poking its head out as one of the more consistent push maps.
Esperança, in comparison to the other two push maps too, is also the most dynamic, the most comebackable, as a lot of people like to say. It's not like you're losing these forward spawns and you're on Caliseo, for example, and you're like, oh my gosh, like we just can't work our way through this very first section. You're often going to get further than you will in a lot of other push maps. So Esperança has been the primary pick for a lot of teams here. A lot of the big points to note, Twin Salty, compositions can change. Dive is a possibility should one of the teams decide to implore that side of the compositions. But in reality, it's a lot more about the positioning and how you're playing this map, particularly off of those two bridges that we just got a glimpse at towards the first section of this map.
Yeah, honestly, the middle of this map is where this map will get won. Point blank. Like, you can hold this so easily on the... If you are in the lead, right? Let's say you get it to, like, let's say 60 meters, just past tick. The other teams maybe got to 20. You can legit just win a fight, get forward spawn. If you lose that next fight, oh, no biggie. You have advanced spawn. You can play near arches again. And you can just rotate that over and over and over. And that's really the cycle that a lot of teams get stuck on this map, especially when the team who's in the lead have a dominant hit scan. And Haven today, you know, we haven't talked about them a ton.
No.
But they've been quietly keeping the tempo here. Because we know, obviously, we look at Rocket. They're one of the best tracers in the world. And we've seen it, especially with them playing Venture tonight. Like, we've seen them being able to be a little more flexible. But Haven is consistently, hey, we'll finish up the kills. And they're keeping lukewarm at bay on the other side. And that was one of the big things here for Northwood that they needed to do.
Learning how to adjust to a star-studded DPS lineup. And that's not to say that Lukewarm and Cave aren't incredible at what they do. It's just hard to look at people like Haven and Rocket, who have been well established within contenders and now OWCS, and just count them out for anything. Cave and Lukewarm have certainly been under a lot of people's rankings when it comes to these DPS matchups, but so far they've managed to keep a decent tempo on where that damage has been outputting. They've been forcing Northwood to rely more on each other instead of just this individual pop-off sort of play style, which is great, except for you're losing in a lot of these team matches that Fisher just haven't looked as good when. And it once again points, red flags are blaring towards that ultimate management. There's just so many different ults that they're using it at fights that are either already lost, like you think that they're going to switch, or swapping heroes every which way so you can't build up a solid ultimate, and it just gets so dang wacky when Fisher make these changes, and they really haven't recovered from it yet.
Yeah, some of these ults, like, obviously the most notable was when Riker used Cage, at least, you know, they did swap. But there's been a few ults was like, did you really mean to use that? Is that really what the plan was, or was that a rage cue? Because granted, like, I think we're all guilty of it at time to time. You get into a fight and you hit Q in a fight you think is winnable, when in reality it's not. Yeah. Which granted, it happens to everybody, as you know, as seen during this tournament. But it is those little mistakes that, you know, they need to be checked. Like, hey, we can't be throwing ults away against a team like Northwood. You have to play near perfection against Northwood. These teams played just over a month ago in a different competition. Northwood 3-0. This time around, it's sadly looking eerily similar to that so far, if Fisher are not able to turn it around. And a quick update, you know, we did talk about it. Hey, there are 2 lower bracket games going on right now. Illinois State Redbirds, we talked about it. They may just run the lower bracket. There's a very good chance of it. They are up 2-0 on Fisher Freaks. And St. Clair up 1-0 on Rutgers. That is the one I'm a little more interested to see, now that Rutgers will have map pick on map 2, how that one will change up. But I honestly, both of those games so far somewhat following the script.
Yeah, for what a lot of us expected to see in several of these matches, and even pulling it back to this one, it's no secret that Fisher are the underdogs facing off here against Northwood. And then whoever loses this, facing either ISU or Fisher Freaks, likely ISU with the way that match is going. Not ideal for a lower bracket match to come after this one that you're playing today. If Fisher Esports can manage to push this all the way back to a game 5, this does show that they can fight toe-to-toe with the best, and they are deserving of being in consideration with some of these very top teams. But for the longest time, and even now, they've been stuck in this little bubble in between, just facing off against some of these big dogs in the lineup. It's all up to Esperança now, Fisher Esports, and they managed to keep themselves in contention for these upper brackets against Northwood's Rocket, pulling out the Venture once more.
I love that this is consistent. This isn't just a meme pick coming out from Rocket. You can tell this is something they've actually practiced, because it looks very well coordinated. There's been a time here and there where Rocket realized, oh, I don't have recall. You know, I don't have blink. So it can be a little harder to get out of these fights, and that's why they're playing a little more passive on the entry. But Fisher, again, they don't have anyone that's really seen Rocket on the Venture yet.
Not really, but if Fisher want to start regrouping, have it be all lukewarm. We talked about how this guy is so, like, just on an even play field with Haven. If you can let him start to cook, oh boy, is Fisher gonna work with it.
I love Fisher, like, oh, they're on Venture because we haven't seen the Tracer at all? Just go in. We don't let them get the value, even though, yes, Rocket still just annihilates Neb in the backline. It's not enough because Lukewarm, like you said, it's starting to heat up a little bit. We haven't said their name a whole lot since they popped off over on Antarctic Peninsula. They need to keep this level of consistency of their performance going if they want to at least start the wheels turning of that reverse sweep.
It's going to take so long just to get through this initial part. Lukewarm speed running towards the Deadeye, hits literally every everybody, but CJ is the only one to actually go down here. Fisher Esports, that's now 2 fights in a row that they've won solely off the back of Lukewarm.
They're red hot. Like you made the pun earlier. I'm going to steal it. Lukewarm is not warm. They're red hot so far in this map. This is the level of performance they needed to keep this going. Rocket so far, the pick on Venture has not worked out so far, as the tick is almost a reality here for Fisher Esports. And if it is a very early forward spawn that could force troubles late, but instead it'll be just before that cave. Just gonna back up for now.
They're gonna move back, and this is what we're talking about with this more front section of the map. Teams are choosing to take these battles here. That may prevent Northwood to pull a split and move out maneuver. Fortunately, Haven wasn't able to join his team. Cage fight deep into the backline. This one from Riker would have been great. Were you not sitting in an enemy Kitsune rush, you will get punished for that error. And Fisher Esports even popping the sound barrier to compensate from that loss. And it really didn't do a whole lot than just kind of keep these guys alive. Northwood Esports just having Calman existing is more than enough to verify moving on forwards and kind of pushing Fisher Esports back to where Riker is now reappearing.
Fisher were almost wanting to push back into that, or at least stall it out near mid for Riker to come back. But as soon as you lose Grapes, you have to back up. You can't push into that without your Lucio. As now high ground will be controlled by Northwood. But Fisher, yeah, they're not going to let him have a free.
Haven just rolled straight into the cage fight, and Lukewarm was there to greet him. That's a second Deadeye in just 2 minutes. Rocket, though, adding a little bit of extra chaos to the mix. His first final blow of the game, and is going to grab 2 just with the ultimate. What a snipe! Cave thought he was safe, but his little pinky toe caught up in the tectonic shock, and Northwood finally on the move.
I was like, oh, where'd you go? Where'd you go? All right, we'll just send it towards bot and just snipes Cave on the exit. And I don't mind that, honestly, for Fisher. Like, try and get aggressive with the Deadeye. Did it work out that time? No. But that's the aggressive plays you need to be making here for Fisher. As the lead will not get tossed over. Fisher can test just under 2 meters.
Look at the touch. This Deadeye, though, from Haven. It's going to buy the space. It grabs the lead because it grabbed the point. Not quite. Fisher squeak their way back out and snag Rocket after a nice amplification matrix. So split-second timing. Although losing the lead, not too bad. How much time's left on the clock? DJ not wanting to give up on Northwood's initial progress just yet, though. In this area, in a shade of red, Haven and Vega just falling forwards into any players of Fisher. Managed to do enough punishing in that to hopefully grab these forward spawns and set Fisher back for the first time in this map.
As Fisher, they're trying to at least make this fight interesting near the back end, but I don't know if they have the players here, Molly. Yeah, Grapes falls. Cabe will get out, which is big. They'll at least have their tracer to stall this out a little bit longer, but it will be even more meters going the way of Northwood because of the way that fight ended. And they're just content. Hey, we got Tick. We don't need to stick around.
No, not at all. And Northwood, that's actually what they want. They want to move backwards so you can play off this high ground. Specifically, stick stick Haven up here with how well he's been doing on this Cassidy so far today. The sound barrier now from Fisher, an attempt to rip away the treasured high ground from Haven, which they'll manage to do. Lukewarm into the backline. Deadeye escorting the robot well away from where Northwood currently stand. I love the approach that Fisher took there.
Yeah, it's like, all right, we're going to try and force them to drop on down. We know that's the position they want to play, but Northwood's not done.
What? Wait, they had enough players that were grouped down in the tunnel and managed to grab the player.
They're going to get Tick.
The bot. Oh, my gosh. It doesn't matter that Northwood won the fight. It's Fisher that won the war. They came in, got what they wanted in forward spawns, and just like that, the playing field is even once more.
For those watching at home, circle that moment right there.
Please do.
Because they don't have to worry now about, hey, you know, the bot's going to stop. It's going to wait there for a moment. If Fisher can win this fight and get the bot going back their direction, they can just keep pushing in, and now they can fight set mid once again.
Oh, they're getting aggressive. A lot of these plays, Fisher Esports, well, I like it. The robot still walking away from them. EJ going down. That's going to hurt Northwood in the long run. No support, so any damage permanently is taken. Northwood, though, are still struggling to get a full regroup. Haven and Rocket are still alive, causing a little bit of chaos, and it's a scrappy finish where Northwood are pushing the bot all along.
It was Rocket all along.
It was always Rocket.
Don't know if I can say the full tempo of that without a certain company getting bad, but it's fine. It's time after time. It's just one of the DPS is sneaking the bot away. As Northwood, because of that, they have close spawn. They built their lead up now to nearly 30 meters. They're in a great spot, but again, another fight towards mid. It's almost like we're playing Coliseum here today with how many fights we're having to play on mid.
All right. I mean, Haven wants to end it quickly. It's a speedy cowboy, daring any players to peek their heads around. Almost got grapes, but you'll live to see another day. Rocket aggressively now. Tectonic Shock forces the Suzu. The health bar struggling. Lorco needs to push Northwood back any way possible. The Deadeye doing just that. Payload on the move for Fisher. The high ground, this little staircase being in Northwood's control is a brutal. Calman gets hyper aggressive though. He's gonna pay for that with his life. Northwood had the opportunity to pull through on it, but ended up just losing it all in the long run. So Fisher Esports are looking to get a full recovery through this. Rocket still hanging on to life and doing what Venture does best, installing this box. He's a menace.
He's like, all right, you're gonna have to wait for me just to dig underground for a little bit. Hey, there you go. They will be at least a little bit late to this fight, and again, this is where that bot steal earlier may come into effect. Because yes, Fish are gonna wait just a tiny bit for the rest of their members to get here, but this bot will not have to wait. His comment is like, "Oh, the whole crew's here." No,
we're good.
no,
we're chilling.
We're not gonna stall it out for the tick. This bot will start routing the corner. Dare I say, the most important fight of this entire map so far. Neb has the Kitsune Rush to enter in with.
Now the Kitsunes, but only one cage fight. Cowman hasn't built this up just quite yet. But it's enough healing, enough sustain to go through. Northwood waited so long to pop that sound barrier, and it looks like nearly nothing. Without much attention, Cowman was receiving out of Fisher. The bot is stolen. That's a very good call. Fisher needs to regroup quickly with this bot moving further towards the pink side.
Rocket's just a menace. Like, you thought you had a really good fight, huh? And yeah, the meters you thought you were gonna get, no. We're going to make sure, hey, you don't get forward spawn anymore. You're going to have to earn that back.
This is bad.
And yes, they get about 10 meters or so, but this is not a great spot here for Fisher, as they basically get reset to 0 on the progress they made that last fight. Only Deadeye to work with. Haven's going to use theirs just to get the spot moving the other way.
Rocket is a menace to society. Somebody bring out a fly swatter and smack this guy down, because Fisher, Rocket is single-handedly losing you this map. Minute remaining, something has to be done. Lukewarm is in the backline, but he's cut off from the rest of his team, who's occupied in a bloodbath of a battle that Rocker ends up losing. Just under a minute remaining, and this bot far from the Fisher side.
It's now back-to-back fights needed for Fisher. Unless they lose the next one, can still get it to OT, and then you have a lot more work to do if you are the Falcons. That was a disaster of a fight. Northwood will try and be aggressive in the positioning. Any meter counts right now if Fisher's able to win this fight. As it gets to 90, Rocket's going to get aggressive, has pulse.
Full thumb in the pocket. Rocket looking for the stick. He couldn't quite get it earlier. There's the Suzu on out. Sees the opportunity. Sticks it on to Riker. He blows to smithereens. Neither team hesitate to go. It's only going to be a scrappy battle from here on out. It's one that Fisher have to recover from, and they can't hide away from Haven's shot. That's a second now for the Cassidy, making an even playing field. Fisher spawns much closer. Northwood, if they can force them off now, take care of Haven. There's a chance for a regroup. Haven gets so far up, grabs Neb at the bare minimum, but it's looking like Fisher aren't out of this just yet. They'll need to win a couple fights in a row, and they can take this to a potential map 4.
It's a workable situation here. You're going to have to win a fight over by Arch. Then you're going to have to win another fight where the barricade is right now. And then probably another after that cave. You cannot die there.
You can't. You just can't. Rocket has been the punisher of overextensions. You let him go one time, and look what happens. This is bad. That was your robot pusher. Fisher now need to be hugging this robot like their life depends on it. There'll be an aggressive push in. Riker attempting to keep Palpatine in place, but it's lukewarm. The takedown. The noble target just when you needed him the most. He's back on the cooker and sends Northwood packing.
Start crushing it.
Winnable for Fisher here. Still a lot of work to be done. Still got to win arguably 2 fights. The bad side is they basically have nothing to work with. They'd use everything during that. Cable have to look for a pulse bomb early. If they can get it on the Vega before the sound barrier goes down, or on the come in for a finisher, that could be an opening here as Lukewarm is in the back, trying to find an early pick, but they can't risk their own life for it.
Yeah, the last fight about to start here. Haven, though, gets Neb for the South barrier. Can even come out. This is chance. Northwood
That is not
saves
what
the
you can
ultras
afford
for
to
the
happen
last
is
battle.
Rocket
Totally
fires
fine.
3
Blow up
during the
Fisher's
fight,
hopes
and Northwood, they shut it
dreams.
down.
As close
Northwood
as the last
sweep.
map has been. Fisher yet to cross the finish line as Northwood keeps their undefeated streak against the Northwood Timberwolves up and running. An incredible finish from a team many of us anticipated to reach these top marks.
Whew, that was something to end it. Fisher gave us at least a little bit of dramatics to make it just interesting at the end, as just we thought, hey, maybe this is getting turned around. Just no, doesn't happen. Northwood shut down the reverse sweep rumors. Nice little sweep for the Timberwolves and prove, hey, we still are the top team to beat at least, one homecoming. They won last year's. They're trying to go 3 in a row with this lineup. Send off coming on a high note. That is the start they needed here, as now they await the winner of this next game for the upper bracket final.
And it was a game that Northwood were very confident in heading into today, not losing to Fisher, understanding how this team plays, how they operate, and despite a lot of those fireworks kind of going off for Fisher towards the tail end, making it interesting, it's just not enough for Northwood's vast, deep knowledge of how to play competitive Overwatch. Regardless of a lot of these changes coming in, it doesn't even matter. Northwood can add their own spice into the mix. We even got to see our favorite rock-loving goofball make an appearance for some of the first times in high competitive Overwatch. Fisher Esports didn't understand how to necessarily counteract that. A lot of their issues just ran into these small mistakes that just added up over time. Northwood piled it all together, shoved it right back in their faces, and sent themselves straight over into these winners finals.
The ending from Rocket was insane. That was just disgusting. It's all right, no, we're shutting this down. This is our map. We appreciate you making it close, Fisher, but no, we're making this done now for the entertainment purposes. Clean 3-0 for the Timberwolves. And you look at it this way. 2 series away from another championship at Northwood.
Yeah.
Arguably one of the most historic and storied programs in Overwatch Esports for the collegiate side. They're getting eerily close to it, Molly, and it is a scary thought. But for Fisher, like I said, it did get confirmed. They do play ISU in that next round. That is a rough next game in lower bracket after playing Northwood. You have to play ISU, who has been on an absolute tear over the last month, with the exception of their 3-1 loss to Maryville just last weekend.
Especially Fisher Freaks just got taken out, the sister team of Fisher Esports against the Redbirds. So ISU are just racking up the Fisher teams as they proceed through the bracket, leaving this as the only one. Northwood, incredible performance here today. Exactly what we expected to see from them, given their past history and their constant drive to be on the top and for their improvements within their competitive play. But of course, not only have we seen this game here today, we've had plenty of others go on. In order to stay in touch with all of this collegiate Overwatch action, I need you guys to go ahead and follow all of our Overwatch Esports channels for our streams. You can catch us on both Twitch and YouTube, but also keep an eye on X for some little content bits that you guys may have missed. All the meanwhile, Jesse, we've had an incredible start to our first day of our weekend competition. We sent one team down to the lower bracket. Northwood are going to push on forwards, and we do have an interview coming up with our winning team in just a moment. So don't go anywhere. We'll see you on the other side of this break. Northwood University just showed us some picture perfect, squeaky clean Overwatch today with their upper round matchup, securing themselves a spot in these upper finals and also a top 4 guaranteed finish. And Jesse, from a squad that, as you said, has won several of the past Overwatch Collegiate Cups, including homecoming tournaments, and this is no big deal for a team of this caliber. This is what Northwood expected to happen.
This is, like you said, this is what they expect to happen every year is, hey, we're gonna make it into the top end. We're gonna make sure, like, hey, we are in a great spot, guaranteed to finish in the podium. And even though, yes, during this round one, you and I will both admit it looked a little scary.
It was weird.
Fisher showed up in that first round of Antarctic Peninsula, but from there on out, it was the Northwood show and showing us looks that we haven't seen in a long time or ever. With Rocket going on Venture, we saw them be versatile, and it was actually them pushing Fisher to make the changes. When Fisher, for them to win, they needed it to be the other way around. And Northwood, again, they show the prowess that this team can bring. And no matter what, top 3 in the tournament, but they'll be looking to go even farther than that.
As they should be. Northwood are a team that is very methodical in how they approach their sort of gameplay. Even when the chaos kind of ensues, they say nah to all of these shenanigans and force the tempo so incredibly well. And we got to see it here a lot on Esperança. Generally, Jesse, I don't think North would win this series had it been for Rocket stealing this robot right out from Fisher's noses.
No, we thought for a while that, hey, it's going to be Fisher. They made that big brain play with the bot. But if it wasn't for Rocket doing it right after,
Sheesh.
we could have been looking at a very different map result. And we could have been looking at a different result entirely. But now joining us, we have CJ themselves. CJ, first off, how are you feeling after that 3-0 sweep?
I'm feeling great. It's the expected result, so not really much to be happy about.
I think we do have to ask here because we just had this new patch kind of come in this week. Not too much has changed for what we saw Northwood playing specifically, but there is one little goofball we'd like to point out. Rocket was on Venture for quite some time in today's series. Was that something that was planned coming into this week, or is that a recent change that you guys have made to your roster?
No, it's a recent change. We recently thought that Venture would be good with Malga because like the Malga shout gives back HP for some reason. So we thought that Venture would be a great fit with Malga. So we just adapted it today.
Yeah, honestly, like it worked out pretty well. So how much have you practiced that, if you don't mind me asking? Or was that something just in kind of the spirit of the day that you wanted to throw out there?
Oh, yeah, the first time we played it was in the match today, so we did not try it at all.
Wow.
Can we expect to see it
Okay.
again?
Yes, you can.
Woohoo! Thank you, CJ.
All right.
You're
that
making all of
that's
us
great to
Benjamins
hear.
happy.
But you said like this was the expected result today. When I was talking to Calman earlier this week, he said the same thing. And now looking into the upper bracket final, you play the winner of Winthrop versus Maryville, which will be played right after this. Do you have a preference on who you want to play, or for you guys, does it really matter?
Honestly, I'd probably like to play Maryville because they'll probably be easier than Winthrop, but I
Ooh.
think we're probably gonna play Winthrop. So
Okay. Fair enough.
Hey, you'll definitely have to keep an eye on that matchup that we have coming up, as we will have that later on the broadcast today, which I'm sure you and Northwood and the rest of Northwood will be watching for that here. I do want to touch a little bit on the team's past success and kind of coming into this season being, for example, it's Caliban's very last time that he's going to be playing with on the Northwood roster. What does it really mean for you guys to be playing within this Overwatch Collegiate Cup, being that past champion and the team that a lot of others have been the one to beat?
yeah, I mean, I think Vega and Haven are like back-to-back champions so far, and same with Donnie, which is Calman. But honestly, about time that Unk has graduated. I'm sick and tired of him having on my team. So it's honestly good that he's moving on to bigger and better things in life. But yeah, we're trying to get a three-peat, of course. Just get another chip on our belt.
Okay. Just another day in the office.
Yeah, we're trying to be
for
like
Northwood
the
Esports.
Bulls. So
Dang. Okay. We'll have to keep that out. I
Okay.
mean, hey, it literally did look like a bowl in a china shop with how you guys were playing off a lot of these cage fights that you had going on today. And I did also want to ask one more compositional thing. We saw a little bit of the swap between the Malga and the Ramatra that you guys were pulling out. Is there really what's the difference? Like, what's the ideology behind playing each one of these tank heroes?
Uh, I mean, we just only played Ramattra on the first point for King's Row because we feel like it's easier for Ramattra to play around point, whereas
Mhm.
Malga has like a really hard time since he doesn't really have any shields or any defensive capabilities. So we just played Ram, but Malga's basically better everywhere else.
There you go.
Yeah, I agree with that.
We just kind of
That's
agree
fair.
with
That's
that.
fair enough.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's like, yeah, no, that's fair enough.
And I feel like half the day here for us too is like trying to wrap ourselves around a lot of these more chaotic fights that we got to see throughout the day. And I'm sure that's kind of going to continue throughout the weekend, especially with more teams grabbing an understanding of some of the smaller changes that the game has faced lately. So I'm sure that you guys are going to keeping an eye out for how that will progress moving on forwards. But before we go ahead and start to send you off here, CJ, wanted to ask, do you have any statements that you would like to say towards the crowd, shout outs that you'd like to make here for Northwood?
No matter who we play, we're gonna win. So just keep cheering for us, and we'll get you some good
Okay.
results.
I like
All
confidence.
right.
Confidence means so much,
Love it.
especially in a lot of these games. And CJ, it was a pleasure to hear that from you and Northwood. We'll have a lot of eyes on your team moving on forwards, especially playing this winner of the Maryville and Winthrop match. So thank you so much for joining us here on the desk today. And hopefully we'll get to see you here again after tomorrow's game.
All right, thanks so much for having me.
Wow. Every team, they're gonna win. Like that's literally the entirety
Yeah.
of CJ's person, or not personality, but that's his entire thing. He's like, I'm gonna win. Northwood's gonna win. They want the 3-peat bad.
They want, like you said, they want they want
They
Kame to
want
get
him
his
gone.
final little chip to be like prime Jordan out there. But no, honestly, the way they're playing, it'll be pretty tough to take down this team. Do I think the winner of our next game can do it? I think if any team's going to do it, it will be
Yeah.
one of them or ISU. So, you got to win this one tonight first, though, to get another shot at the champs.
Oh yeah, you're not done quite yet. If you are Northwood, we'll go ahead and see them back again tomorrow on the stream. But for us here, we have to move on to our second semifinal match of the day. There'll be Winthrop versus Maryville University coming right up. So we'll see you guys on the other side of the short break. Welcome back to the Overwatch Collegiate Cup stream. Once again, Tiny Shiny and Twin Salty here to walk you through our second and final matchup of the day. Maryville and Winthrop, some of our last two teams that remain in our upper bracket. One will be knocked down in the lowers to face the winner of our St. Clair Rutgers matchup, and the other will move on to face Northwood, who's been in peak form, as we just got to see.
Yeah, Northwood in peak form in our last matchup, sweeping Fisher, sending them down to lower bracket. You see, Winthrop, they had a little bit of an issue with Fisher Freaks in the quarterfinal. That went all the way to 5. Maryville got pushed a little bit as well. GCU somehow snuck a map in that series. I want to know how that happened. and ISU able to get one as well, but honestly, that was a bigger result for Maryville because ISU recently has had their number. Not that time around. And for the lower games tonight, ISU, like we said, already sweep Fisher Freaks. They will now get to play Fisher Main in lower quarters. Rutgers St. Clair, on the other hand, is still going, Molly. Wow, that just got updated. 2-1 now, the score for the Saints.
It was a match that we anticipated to go the difference, and I've just been told it is now 2-2. These squads have vastly different play styles. Rutgers not abiding by any form of meta. Heck, they don't know what it is, where you have St. Clair, similar to Northwood, a well-oiled machine. It doesn't take anything lightly. Seeing that match go the distance certainly makes us happy. We'll have to find out who they'll be facing off against in that lower quarterfinals shortly. It'll be either the loser of this game, Winthrop or Maryville, coming up. And Jesse, you have to argue this is one of the most anticipated matches that you're going to see in the entirety of this bracket.
It's one I've had circled for a long time, admittedly. As soon as we knew, like, hey, this is going to be an upper semi, I'm like, just give it to us now. Like, we want it now, because arguably the most historic program in collegiate esports, or one of Maryville, against one of the newcomers in Winthrop, who, invested a lot this semester across their titles. Smash Bros, they've had an incredible year as well. But here for Overwatch, Winthrop, you look at this roster and it's like, how did they cook this up? Kaluge, granted, Ultraviolet on DPS, they've been honestly decent on the Tracer. Good. And then, Tree, Liar, and then World Champion RuPaul. Like, it is one of the most insane rosters I've ever seen.
You have Overwatch League level champions. You have Tree, who is the most sought after player, who just turned of age literally this week to play in OWCS as in a Winthrop. You have Kaluge, who made a great run of the San Francisco Shock. It doesn't get much better with this squad. The only thing you might be like, what's going on here? Ultraviolet being on this DPS role, he's filled it wonderfully so far, but you're also going against some of the best DPS that you're going to find in collegiate Overwatch, and that team is Maryville. You take a single glance in the direction of Vision, of King, and you need to be scared of what these guys can output.
They can just turn it on randomly. That is the scary thing about this team, is that they can just turn it around, on a moment's notice. You have Dante on tank. We may see False at some point, but I have a feeling for the most part, we'll see Dante on tank tonight. Vision has been great. King has honestly stepped it up this semester. The improvement from King has been surreal. And Squid Luke Mino, quietly, one of the better support combinations we've had in collegiate this year. Yeah. It's a team that when they're in their groove, they can beat anybody. I think the question is right now, are they in that kind of groove? Or will it be another issue where they're not able to really have that consistent performance level that they need? Because on LAN, they've struggled, admittedly. They've struggled. They told us they've had a little bit of a rough spurt here and there. But I do think this is where they could start turning it around as we load into Busan.
Busan being that map number 1 pick, where Maryville kind of want to send this initial statement. If they are a team to be reckoned with, despite their recent struggles, they feel strong, they feel confident, and aren't afraid of what Winthrop can do. Interestingly enough, though, Jesse, we don't see Juby in Maryville's starting lineup, which tells us that we're looking more in the direction of potentially either a double flex support or a Brigitte coming in here. So does this mean we're going to see Maryville over on the dive composition? Maryville was another one of those teams that said the patch can change the meta. There wasn't nearly enough time to actually adjust to a lot of these various little small adjustments that you would have to make, right? So sticking with Dante potentially either on this Winston on certain points is something to go ahead and lean into, especially since Winston is not one of Kaluge's well-known heroes.
Yeah, Kaluge, I'm curious what Kaluge wants to run out on here.
Yeah.
Because, you know, we were talking with Wheats. This team doesn't scrim together a lot. Like, they have a lot of differing OWCS priorities. And then you have Tree, like you said, who legit just became age eligible. They'll be able to join a roster starting in Stage 3 for OWCS. So they're a person that, you know, we're going to be looking at. And a lot of teams are looking at for OWCS. But it's a team that maybe hasn't been able to scrim as much as a solid 5. So I wonder if that will have any implication. But, you know, from raw talent perspective, they're one of the best we have.
Absolutely. I mean, Winthrop are a squad that you look at and like, again, how did this roster come to exist? And I'm just keeping an eye on this King Ultraviolet matchup. A lot of pressure on these two players having to fill roles and step up in ways that we may have not seen them in prior. It is Dante, though, that does get the better of Kaluge. He got slightly over-aggressive, and these Fan the Hammers really did that initial chip, allowing Maryville to snag his objective first.
Winthrop just never were able to take high ground control. Maryville got there very quick and has kept pushing, and they will be running the Cuticle variant, which I think gives them just a little more pace. RuPaul is going to want to slow it down a little bit. They have more healing output to elongate the fight. When Maryville, they want to make these things quick, and that's why UV trying to get into the mix, but King forces the recall already.
King already pushing that one out, and that's kind of the thing with tempoing with Tracer or with the Deadeye, as we've seen a ton with Cassidy's these days. Kaluge steps out just in time, though, to get hit with the brunt of that damage. He was so separated from the rest of the team. One of the hardest parts about Mega Base is moving through these choke points, which Dante has done an incredible job of contesting so far. Vision, though, does have to hit the S key a little bit here, knowing that the space is now contested. King, Ultraviolet, back at it on the objective, while the Kitsune Rush is the story on the high ground. Squid winning the race to that first ultimate as RuPaul used his earlier in the day. Dante now back in the fray. RuPaul is down. Winthrop, they weren't able to take advantage of Dante being gone at all. Maryville had the objective the entire time.
And they get the staggers as well as, Liar almost gets sniped on their way back. But like you said, they just couldn't find the opening. Maryville consistently held on that high ground. They had King down by a point, making sure Ultraviolet could not cap it. And Winthrop, so far, 75% have only used the window from RuPaul. That is the only thing they've been able to use. And now they need to commit this fight to keep Mecha Base going.
Winthrop can't play scared anymore. Tree's Deadeye pushing Dante. Of course, the objective doesn't catch any bodies, but that's okay. The job is done. Maryville are on the low ground. Ultraviolet holding onto a pole, finding its way out to Dante just before that he hits the ground. Excellent timing from the Tracer player. Winthrop had this door busted wide open. Now they just need to close out the fight with ideally as few ultimates as possible, and that's going to be great when Tree just cleans up the rest of the board along with Ultraviolet.
You used to, it could have been worse there for Winthrop. They're able to keep Liar's ult alive. Annihilation is built up. So it's a decent fight win there for Winthrop. Maryville, honestly, this next fight, if I were them, don't use anything. See if you can try and draw out one of these ults and then have a heavy push the following fight. But they're actually going to use Deadeye early just for some space.
Ooh, Winthrop are hanging onto those walls with their dear life, and yeah, the point is flipped. Maryville in an OT situation, so Winthrop better be careful where they're contesting. This window from RuPaul is actually genius because it prevents Maryville from attempting to contest that objective at all. At the end of the day, it's just a little bit more time bought off of Winthrop's scoring percentage. Kaluge goes in, backed up with the sound barrier. King's Pulse Bomb is wide as well. All these ultimates, the dust starting to settle, but a Tree is far from done. He's making sure Maryville feel his wrath right now. The former player on the team making the switch. And whoo, they wish he had him back.
Yeah, they definitely are right now as Winthrop just on the back of Tree during that. It was almost like a nice little chess game. Like Maryville, they can't point with the Deadeye. Then Winthrop pushed them away with Window. But the big thing was for Maryville, Winthrop used a lot. Both support ultimates gone. Annihilation gone. If they can build up some of these ultimates, they could have just a full-fledged attack. But they're going to go in early.
Oh, they're just making the play in. Tree couldn't even cancel the Deadeye fast enough before Dante just barreled over on top of him. He's getting so aggressive right now, building closer to this Annihilation, and with an ultimate like that in an overtime sort of scenario cannot be more devastating. Winthrop right now has to force down towards this objective. They don't have Ultraviolet, so a lot of this touching power is gone. Dante holding onto this ultimate, trying to connect himself with Winthrop's backline. He's marching right on up there, giving RuPaul a heart attack, taking care of the supports, and Maryville will manage to close out Mecha Base for round number 1.
Everybody's looking at Dante. It's Squid you got to worry about.
Oh
Squid
my
goes
gosh.
for 3 during that, and just a nice little cleanup there for the Flex support, who, you know, we've seen on and off as of late, but so far it's been a great performance here for Maryville, as now Dante will bring out what I thought we would see maybe a little more consistently is the Doomfist. They're one of the only teams that has ran it, and I think Kalu's up preemptively going to pick the Roadhog to counter, try and punish Dante going in deep, and also the Brig Ana. Well, I mean, they're still figuring out what they want to run. RuPaul's probably sticking the Ana, though, to try and make Dante's life just a little bit more harsh.
This is great, because I guarantee you, Winthrop crafted this composition strictly for Maryville. This is the plan all along. Wheats did not let anything slip when we tried to talk to him ahead of this game, and I feel like this was one of the reasons why Winthrop know that Maryville rely heavily on Dante's Doomfist, knowing it's his best tank hero, especially even getting Vision onto something as the Widowmaker, which he's one of the best that you're going to find here within Collegiate. Just him existing in the map forces Winthrop to play farther back. Fluso taking on for dear life. He got down to sub 10 HP and now taking a nice little map. Well, Maryville will get that first capture, but this battle really yet to start.
Yeah, kind of just staring at each other for a while, having some trading blows, but like I said, Maryville, they're able to cap first, and Vision hasn't had a whole lot of pressure yet, and it's Collusion falls.
And that's kind of the thing. If you're going to be the Roadhog, you are so vulnerable until somebody comes close to you. Maryville are treating him like the absolute plague right now. Dante at least does get punished, and Winthrop snuck their way onto the objective all the meanwhile. So with that control being flipped back over, Maryville now are holding their aggressive positions. Vision grappling out of danger, but should try to regroup with their team. But at the end of the day, they have to jump off the map.
Yeah, and you need to wipe here. If you're Maryville, I don't think they realized they were going to flip it that quickly. Kaluj goes over to the Diva. And not going to try the gimmick with the Roadhog. Just going to be more of a solid counter dive option with the Diva. Maybe more comfortable for them as well. As this Widow, it's a choice. I don't mind, you're trying to force RuPaul and Liar to play a little more conservative. But if you don't actually find those picks, which they haven't really so far, it's a massive risk.
Especially with Ultraviolet, like, essentially on Vision duty. Like, his entire existence is dedicated to making sure Vision doesn't hit shots, which I don't even think Vision has gotten a final blow so far in this map, which is partially because of the playstyle that's been forced. It's mainly on Dante to displace these players in front of the Widowmaker. Not a good place on through. Deadeye is done. This guy, an absolute master of the Doomfist, transitioning from his original DPS role, making Maryville look in their strongest form, even staggering out onto Kaluj here.
They need to, because they lost Squid and Luke Mino during that fight. That was the two that did fall, and Squid are trying to figure out what they actually want to go. Went Mercy for a second, now with Lucio, and now back over to the Kiriko.
Okay,
just a nice little roulette wheel going around as and Dante will just stall for now. That's all they have to do. Stall, wait for the rest of the team to come back. His Vision almost has the infra sight to at least zone out the Tracer.
Whoa! Even if he ends up going down, disgusting shot onto Liar. Winthrop nowhere near as much sustain as they were expecting to have. The Kitsune Rush, though, the legacy of their fallen support shall live on and eventually win them this battle. We've been stuck in this game of peekaboo for essentially the entire round, Jesse.
Yeah, it's like, oh, we're just gonna little peek. There's been no full commitments like we
It's so
saw
strange.
over on Mecha Base, where because these win conditions are just different. You're trying
Yeah.
to play for these opening picks. You're playing the space a lot more compared to the Ramacha or the Maga that we've been seeing today. It's like, oh, we just go W death ball, try and win the fight. This is way more slowed. And Liar now on the break is just gonna be almost a personal shield for RuPaul from the Widow.
I love that. I mean, Liar's like, I could be your shield. Usually we see that from the Reinhardt, but in this case, it's gonna be the Briggs' perfect role. Vision sights, though, are the thing you need to be very careful of. This overtime for Winthrop. That pulse bomb went a little wide, yet these Anas are building up to those nano boosts, likely going on to the tanks, depending on the situation. Cluj, though, ends up getting the touch, and no, they don't touch the objective. They're also focused on winning the battle at hand. King ended up going down, which is the person fighting against Ultraviolet, and the one Tracer 1v1 he wins happens to be the most impactful.
That was, I can't even say that's, well, it is kind of Maryville's fault. Let's be real. But Ultraviolet does get the kill.
Yeah.
Yeah, King didn't stay alive. If King's able to stay alive, they get one more touch. At that point, Dante's able to finish off the fight behind, when Lugmino and Squid are getting dove on, and then they can go over to point, but they just don't have the time. By the end of it, Winthrop forces over to downtown. Then we'll go back over to the Ramacha Rush. Maryville going to try it one more time with Dante on the Doom because of the fact that they are running double flex support right now. They don't really have a traditional Lucio, quote unquote, on, because that is Juby on the bench for map 1.
Yeah. Maryville picked this map specifically to run Luke Mino on this Ana, Dante on the Doomfist, and the one map that the Lucio, the Ramacha, were in play. So the original plans haven't exactly gone the way that Maryville wanted them to. Dante hanging on for dear life, while it is Squid and King cleaning up the backlines. Squid has been a primary threat to Winthrop University with how just aggressive this man has been. He even gets a second final blow in this fight.
Squid just came out of nowhere in this series. Like, yes, of course, we have Vision, we have King, we have, studs all across the board. But Squid is one of the most aggressive flex supports I've seen in a long time because they're always looking for the kunais. And in this lineup, where you have Luke Mino on the Ana, you can get that aggressive on the Kiriko. Try and take advantage of that bonus headshot damage with those kunais. And it's really putting Tree in an awkward spot. They can't play where they normally would. And Ultraviolet even has to look for it.
And here's the thing,
well,
they just move so fast. Running this Ramacha here, you're playing a completely different pace, and Maryville are using it to just drag Winthrop behind a bus and off a cliff right now. I would love to see some sort of tempo change come into play for this team.
This is, they're going to have to change it up.
Yep,
they give up on the Ramacha. It's like, it's not going to work. Like you said, the pace that Maryville are playing, it will not allow the win conditions for Winthrop to actually come through. So Liar, this is a weird combination though. Liar will go over to the BAP to go with Kaluj on Diva. So not a traditional support comp with tank you would see, but I think it's more for Tree.
Okay, and Kaluj also can isolate Dante and some of these other players a lot better than you would in other heroes. King's Pulse Bomb, it goes out, not exactly taken away, but Kaluj is still causing havoc in the backline. Maryville don't have either of their supports right now, and Kaluj even grabs a third. This Diva pick was a great swap, yet Maryville's target calling is just so dang good. It keeps them alive, and this percentage climbs a lot farther than it arguably should have.
Yeah, they're honestly using the BAP and the Kiriko as a double ammo. That is the whole strat with this. You saw it there with Tree. They get pulsed, and Lamp and Protection Suzu are both used to make sure, like, hey, Tree is not dying during the beginning of this fight. We cannot afford our hit scan to fall. They are at least able to adapt from there. But Maryville, like you said, arguably more of a percentage than they should have gotten on that first run, 79%.
Winthrop, though, again, I love this Diva switch from Kaluj. You can now match the pace that Maryville's playing. Even it's a bit more of a counter dive, counter play, and forces Luke Mino off the Ana onto the Lucio. So less sustain for you, sure, but Dante is still a problem. Kaluj is nowhere to be seen for the backline of his team. They've all fallen over, and Vision is making sure nobody else can set a toe onto this objective. Maryville grabbing this flip back over here, allowing Winthrop one more fight.
Winthrop gotta figure out how they want to rush in here, because it's not like they don't have utility. They have 5 ultimates on the board, Molly, so they have everything they could possibly ask for. They just gotta make sure they don't die on the way in, as Dante just being a menace here on the high ground, trying to just make it a little bit more difficult. Well, watch out for King, though. They may be able to trade this all down to UV already dies.
That's bad. At least it traded out for Kings. There is still an opportunity for Winthrop. They have 4 ultimates to work with. Unfortunately, neither of them have come to much fruition. They need to find something fast, and ideally that target is Dante. He steps on the wrong side of an amplification matrix. Is shredded down to bits. Winthrop gets a flip on that point, but my goodness, was that expensive.
Yeah, they used 3 during that, and they honestly could have won it if they broke Lamp. Liar just lived because Lamp never got broke. They will even get some staggers here as well.
Swap.
Vision not able to get out dot. Wow. So they won't punish this counter swap. They know Kalush still has self-destruct. They know they're not going to be able to have time to get off this diva. So they're just going to try and rush the backline of Liar and RuPaul, who do not have the Lucio. They have the speed advantage here, the Saints.
Speed advantage and the sound barrier advantage, since there is not one for Winthrop right now. They need to make quick work, though. Dante is feeling the brunt of the damage. The Suzu actually gets eaten, so Dante's health bar can't go up, having a sound barrier as an attempt to keep him alive without this extra healing that Squid tries to pump in, but he's getting treatment right now. Even Ultraviolence Pulse Bomb doesn't do a whole lot. Kalush losing out on their 1v1 and an unfavorable advantage. The entirety of Maryville just collapsing on top of him. Vision now in the backlines of Winthrop, preventing any further touching. Maryville have this overtime wick now burning. No ultimates online, walking straight into a Vision overclock is the last thing that many players would want to see. Dante holding down the front line, punching his way to victory and punching Maryville a ticket to a map 1 win. What adjustments that Maryville has made as a roster, as a team, and have showcased the flexibility that many thought was their weakness.
I love that call at the end. I don't think that's going to get enough credit when you look back at this whole series if Maryville are able to win it. But the fact, like, let's just go, Ram.
What an
they
incredible
can't swap off at this point. It is final
well.
fight.
I mean,
let's
Tree
just
had
go.
their
And
moments,
it almost turned into a
especially on these
disaster.
first
Because like
couple
you
of
said,
maps, and
Suzu
it
got
became
eaten up
such a
by
big
Kalush.
issue that
Not able to get that
Maryville
quick
made
little
him
immortality,
public
that quick
enemy
little
number
healing burst
1. There's
on
very
the
few
Dante.
teams that
But they're
would
still
try
able to go
play
through. And the
directly into
second
hit
time
scan that
Maryville
we'll
thought
see
Dante
in a
was
player
going to
such
die,
as
they were able to
Tree,
pop the
but it ended
Nemesis
up
form and
evolving
guard legit
towards
as the
Maryville's
pulse bomb is
superior
going off from
positioning.
Ultraviolet.
Winthrop
So
were so
an
scared
insane little
on
play
Mechabase
there,
to take
time after
any
time
sort of
from
space, and it
Dante
took Tree
and the
absolutely
Saints.
popping up like
Map
with
1,
at
it's
least
about as
2 to
close
3
as you
final
can get.
blows in a fight. It was absolutely crazy. Winthrop here is able to recover a little bit on this kind of second map, and I'll be kind of figure out these. Unfortunately, I can't hear too many. I can't hear Jesse right now. Oh, yay, I have Jesse back.
Yes, I'm back.
I am saved. Woohoo! That's safe. I'm so glad. I can't survive without my co-caster. Just as as we could see, Maryville couldn't survive without Dante, and the incredible work that he was able to put in on the Doomfist. Swapping to the Ramatra was so smart. A lot of the reasons, like even while Dante continues to remain relevant today, is with how intelligent of a player he is. He has some of the greatest experience that you could have in the entirety of Overwatch history. Maryville have taken full advantage of that throughout map number 1.
He's one of the smartest players out there right now. Period. Like, he is one of the smartest players in Collegiate. I swear, Sombra's hacking my Wi-Fi. I know they hacked the lobby last weekend. It's crazy. My Discord's crashing, so apologies for the mixed calls that you may occasionally get tonight. But no, honestly, for Maryville, it was just a massive win all around. Like, they forced Winthrop, who, again, on paper, former Overwatch League World Champion.
Yeah.
Multiple with Kalush and RuPaul. And the fact that this team just continues to get better and better and better for the Saints, it really shows a lot about what keeping a team together for as long as they have can do. So as we get ready to go to Midtown, which definitely fits slightly more in the favor of what Winthrop wants to run, it's in a better spot than, you know, they would have been. They could mainly avoid the Doomfist here, which I think is honestly their biggest thing. Is like, hey, Doomfist, no, can we just stop that?
Not just that, though, Jesse. Put Kalush on freaking Sigma. I mean, this guy is one of the best Sigma players you're going to find in North America. put him on his strongest hero and force Maryville to adapt to it. Give Tree the space to pop off on the hit scan. This is how Winthrop continue to play. And especially with a lot of those changes that they've made, you're likely keeping a lot of the roster the same, just depending on where the series is going. But with Midtown in particular, this is the expected map pick that Winthrop should have gone to, and one that can throw Maryville for a loop, especially depending on how Kaluge and Tree can back each other up.
And we do have a sub. They don't have to worry about the Dante Doomfist because he will not be in. It'll be False subbing in for Maryville, which honestly, I like that call. Because if you're going to run more of these traditional comps, Dante doesn't fit. Right? Like, Dante just doesn't. So you might as well bring in False, who you know has the skill to do it. And you could run, maybe, if you want to run the Sigma here, you could run the Sigma with False. Especially on defense. We saw that from Rutgers last weekend, to where Rutgers were absolute menaces on this map on defense because of the fact they were able to run such a poke-heavy comp. And I believe we get confirmation on this. I don't think we had a support sub for Maryville.
We did not.
So it is still the double flex support look for the Saints, which honestly, I feel bad for Juby because, like, he's a phenomenal player. Again, Overwatch League talent, but maybe not needed with what Maryville are trying to run at the moment.
Not exactly. You said at the start of this, it's rare that we see False come in a lot of the time. It only is for specific situations like this. And knowing Winthrop want Kaluge on the heroes that he's going to be the most comfortable with, I mean, this is why you have False. Exactly for the situation. But again, the adjustments, the tempo, the different pacing that you're going to take, like, this is entirely different from what we saw on Busan, and essentially resets this series down to 0. If Winthrop can manage to win on a completely different composition, a lot of the series is going to be about those map picks and those specific areas that these teams can play on.
Yeah, I'm really curious on what Maryville wants to throw here. Because yes, it is False in. So again, you're not going to see the Doomfist. It's not like False can't play the Ramatra. So maybe it is something that, hey, if they need to pull out the Ramatra, they can. But this does scream to me they're showing other looks, whether it be they want more of a traditional dive, they want to run the Sigma, and it will be, we'll find out in a moment, they're teasing us here with the graphic on Maryville Divas. You can see it in the background. They're trying to figure it out, honestly. And it will be False on the Sigma. I hope this isn't bait for Winthrop. I want to wait just a minute because we've been baited before.
I see a Hanzo,
but for Maryville, the Hanzo's an interesting one. We haven't seen Hanzo a lot since they got nerfed a little bit, kind of indirectly with the health changes that came across the board. I don't mind it here, though. You can kind of at least scout out where Winthrop are trying to push in, whether it be through top subway or if they're going to run all the way around over to Firehouse. And they will swap off Venture, which, boo.
Just boo. Dang it, it's all good. I am also intrigued by this Hanzo pick. Vision is one of the few players that actually pulled out this Archer in these long-range poke situations, just because he has a niche skill set for that. So we'll have to see how that actually ends up turning out. It appears Winthrop are currently debating in their comms what really is going to be the situation. Like, you can see the gears turning in their heads to eventually settle back on this Ramatra.
Yeah, I don't know about this yet. If they can actually get to the back line to punish, then it's great. Because, again, they will have the speed difference, unlike what Maryville had over on map 1. But it can be still tricky to actually get there.
Oh, shoot. Kalu just got time-balled off the corner. All right, the guy went flying. It's okay. He's straight back in, making False look like a punching bag. Immortality field is out, forcing Maryville back into a corner, and Winthrop played that here perfectly, making these swaps and understanding of how this composition can be played. The advantage of having the experience of Wheats, a 3-time Overwatch League coach, at their backs really coming to shine here. If they can get Squid out of their backlines, who is proving to be more of a menace of both the DPS players of Maryville right now, Winthrop are down on RuPaul specifically, so the healing is low for Kaluge, and he can't push up much further.
They can't finish off this fight. They're going to have to just wait around Fire Truck. They don't have the heals, like you said. So that is a rough push there for Winthrop. Yes, they get some positioning, but if they can't finish off this fight, it's almost half the time gone.
No, and they even make it happen. I mean, Ultraviolet, that's a nice stick. But of course, you have double immortality for Maryville. It's not going to do a whole lot. And Squid still gets the elimination. What is this guy doing right now? He's just extending his little tendrils of damage absolutely everywhere. Kalush has to take things into his own hands, separating the backline tree. Eventually grabs Luke Mino, and Maryville should be forced to contest unless Squid commits his own ultimate into this. A losing battle. At least
what?
you would think. Pulse and King are still alive. The most mobile players just became even faster. This cooldown reset is clutch. Ultraviolet is back at last, hoping to put some stop on what Maryville have been costing. This fight should not be going as long as it is. Even throwing in the Dragon Strike for good measure. This is insane. Kalush has a sliver of HP. He's going to end up going down. Maryville, though, surely you have no more body to contest this Swift. Okay.
The
Take a
fight
breath,
that
people.
felt like it went for ages over there. That was a marathon. As Squid is still hoping to get kills. King's able to find Ultraviolet on the push. Honestly, for the Saints, you take it. You had no right to make it even that competitive. As instead of, arguably, you took an extra minute off of the clock here for Winthrop to try and push in. I still don't know my thoughts on the Hanzo here. I don't know if it's really going to work out the way Maryville want it to. And maybe they swap later, but yeah, Winthrop just going to try and push for high ground early. There is no shield to protect the back line.
No shield and no ultimates, really, that Maryville had to work with, except for that pulse bomb that King has. He's going to grab two, and Ultraviolet goes straight into Pulse's belly. Nice defense matrix reaction, allowing the King to plant his fag in the middle of Winthrop's team.
This could be a very daunting position here for Winthrop because the verticality is very much in favor of Maryville. They have both flex supports kind of chilling around. Well, granted, Squid's kind of flanking like we saw Neutral do on this map on Sunday. But they have the verticality from False who can just go all the way around. They have a free reset button in the self-destruct, which they may actually have to use.
Ooh, that's getting close. Tree on the high ground. Has the Matrix to back him up. Oh, Maryville, get your heck out of there right now. The tactical nuke keeps them safe from Kalush. Can't say the same for Luke Mino, though. Look how far Kalush ended up walking deep into Maryville's team. It's enough to take the backline, but with how mobile the rest of the squad is, Vision can finally make his mark on this Hanzo and clean up house.
Okay, you're making me shut up a little bit, Vision. I like it. I like to see it. Yeah, he's showing me what he can do as Vision, it's weirdly enough, when you think about Maryville, you think about Dante, you think about Luke Mino, you think about King. Vision, weirdly enough, for some people, just doesn't get talked about, and we need to stop that from happening. There's a reason why they're on this team, and the reason why they are one of the best out there, still. And they're showing it right here. They're silencing this attack that, from a comp perspective, the Hanzo should not be working here, but he is making it work.
We're able to hit enough shots. It will work magic. Too many rushes, though. Making a weird pattern on the high ground. Liar doesn't like that. Adding the color green to the mix. Why don't ya? Vision eventually will get punched down to size, so the Hanzo no longer an issue at these longer ranges. It did cost both of Winthrop's support ultimates, though, so making this last leg over now is going to be vastly important. Kalush cleaning up the remainder of these players is perfect for Winthrop's push.
For Maryville, they needed Squid or False to live. That was a great cleanup from Winthrop. Kalush, they knew they had the support. They knew they had the guard. They knew they could at least stall for a little bit. Dragon Strike, he just sent on the point to stall a little bit, give a little bit of cover for King, and as he forces the ultraviolet recall. They're gonna
go back in. King gets to stick onto Liar. That's actually massive. Maryville, they're not going to give up the fight until it's absolutely over. Winthrop down without their support, and they're going to try to regroup quickly until Ultraviolet comes back into strike. Nice stick out of Luke Mino, out of the range of his own ultimate. This is a support player. I'm sorry. He is looking like a great tracer, an adjustment to this roster that Winthrop can play around perfectly and leg themselves through to the third objective.
With enough time to at least make this doable as well. You have just under 2 minutes. Like you said, Ultraviolet, we were talking with Wheats, there's nobody graduating from this roster, but he jokingly said, yeah, Ultraviolet is graduating from Tracer jail. They will be going back to support sooner rather than later. So honestly, I think that's great for Ultraviolet because even though they're a great Tracer, we know what they can do on support, but so far they're still making it work. Maryville Maybe one last go on the Sigma comp before maybe swapping here, as a little more enclosed works even better for the Ram.
But this Ant Matrix, though, you got to get out of there. Kaluge can't quite make it. It was that extra slow that kind of got in his way there. Vision behind that Ant Matrix is a sight to behold, to say the least. The West Tree so far extended. That's going to be a nasty stagger. Woo!
They're still kind of all around.
What?
Yeah,
No,
wow,
get
Liar
out!
gets taken out as well.
Ooh.
They're just kind of thinking, oh, maybe this is stallable for when Kaluge gets back. In reality, it's not. Kaluge is very low. They get forced on the Nemesis form.
Wait!
And Ultraviolet
What?
still gets taken out. What is happening?
They're pushing Dragon Strike into this as well. Maryville have won themselves
Kaluge
the equivalent
ISO.
of 2 times worth of flights. At least Kaluge should die. Tree ripped King's head off, though, just in the nick of time. The ultimates pouring out of Winthrop, punishing Maryville's over-aggression here as much needed. Tree coming back alive, and after he's been silenced for a large part of Midtown.
Yeah, we haven't really had to talk about him a lot just because, you know, Vision's been silencing them. Ultraviolets had their plays, but that was almost disaster, admittedly, for Winthrop. Like, they were getting pushed into their spawn. If Kaluge does die, you know, this push could be in a very different spot. Vision goes back over to the Widow. As Flux gets one.
Oh, the timing, though, on that Suzu was a little bit off, so RuPaul can't sustain himself. This is really rough. Winthrop are on their last limbs. Vision is clicking heads left, right, and center. Maryville have pulled themselves back together, made the proper adjustments, and have showcased they can beat Winthrop on some different looks. And, you know, one of our big questions with the specific team, too, is how flexible can Maryville really be against a lot of these star level teams. It's no secret that Winthrop has one of the most stacked rosters that you're going to find within Collegiate, and Maryville coming up against them with further levels of experience than them and pushing a Winthrop squad to the limits.
It's the weird comparison. Okay, Maryville, they've been together a little bit longer.
Yeah.
They have a little more scrim time and game time together. Winthrop, yes, on paper, you know, you look at these players like, oh my god, like RuPaul, oh my god, Tree, and Kaluge, and Liar, and Ultraviolet. No matter where you look, it's a phenomenal team. But the thing is, like, Coach Wheat even said it, they don't really scrim very much. No. It's kind of like Rutgers on that line, but maybe for different reasons. Because this team, you know, obviously, they're scrimming with their own OWCS teams. Tree is, at this point, probably trialing with different OWCS teams to start on Stage 3. How much of their time right now is really being spent as a solid 5, and how much of it is actually being spent solo or in duos with other entities? And I think in some of these fights, that cohesion is maybe not as much there as it is for Maryville. And I'm not saying that's the reason why they're losing. I think it's maybe just a bump in the road so far that Winthrop have had, that Maryville, we haven't really seen any of those. Their team fight coordination is excellent, and they're able to finish off fights in a very clean manner.
And even have players such as Vision and King, too, has been having a great game today. Just pop off when it's needed. You put Vision on the Widowmaker, 1, because he's good at it, and 2, it gets you a free ticket into this point. That was close. The crowd strafing, RuPaul didn't even know that he needed, but certainly glad that he was employing that mechanic. Like, a lot of these shots, like, look how much Vision just buys space. Winthrop want to avoid this guy as much as possible, and that's half the reason you play the Widowmaker, forcing positioning of your opponents and getting Maryville for this first choke without too much trouble.
Ooh. They do lose King on entry. They try and get maybe a little too aggressive, trying to push Ultraviolet and Liar over there near the high ground. So for now, it'll be a little bit of wasted time as Luke Mino is still up with falls and even made trouble. Oh, Vision. Well, bye.
That was an unfortunate sandwich that Vision just found himself in. Turned off his eyeballs there, didn't realize that Maryville had entirely fell back, and hey, an unfortunate ending, but Maryville, with how slow they've been playing this, are slowly building up to this Ant Matrix. They're gonna get a little bit before RuPaul. So if Luke Mino get a good positioning on this, perhaps with Vision behind it, that's pretty much a one-shot body shot elimination that Maryville have to work with. It'll be Luke Mino's pop first, Vision, as we thought, sitting behind it, but it is RuPaul that has actually been forced on down. Winthrop don't have much to really work off of in terms of this healing. We're now looking towards Kaluge, Ultraviolet, when it comes to these ultimates. That is the Gravitic Flux, though, coming on out, but Flout should be able to survive. Nice immortality field placement. A tree chunks him down and makes it look like absolutely nothing was there in the first place. Deluge just pushes on up, yet they do give up a tick for all the trouble that Winthrop has caused.
They couldn't be sneak a second. No, Tree's able. Whew, that was
my goodness.
that was clean. As they're able to get the first kill, Maryville. Oh, that's well, that's just not nice. That's just not very nice at all. But they're able to get the first pick, but Winthrop do a great job of just chilling out for a second. They can wait for RuPaul. They use the Gravitic Flux on the False. They can't hit the increasing because False and Kalush is just hiding in the subway car. And at that point, they're able to slowly draw the fight out. Yes, they give up a tick. But Maryville, in reality, have one really good go at this before they were really in danger territory.
I like that Winthrop are just, they're keeping themselves nice, cool, level-headed, everything's okay. And even when Maryville start to push up, they're playing at this slow tempo, not really forcing mistakes. Now these ultimates, though, are a different story. The Gravitic Flux forces Kalush into an unfavorable corner, yet Liar regroups, being the shield for his team, stunning Pulse out of existence. Maryville do have this objective, and Vision is at Winthrop's back, so they know where he is. Well, they certainly do after that shot. Kalush sits straight back up into Vision's crosshairs. Now he needs to be under pressure. Both supports turning to look at the sniper. Can the rest of Winthrop even touch? They're going to attempt to. But with everyone's position revealed, it's going to go down in vain. Maryville have cracked the code. First objective, unleashing the fire truck. Liar!
Buddy, what's going on? What's happening? You got the widow, but at what cost?
Just took Vision's lunch money.
Yeah, legit took the lunch money and then realized their parents were both outside waiting for them to walk out with the lunch money. That's a rough turnaround if you're a Liar. And it may turn into some more damage as Maryville already able to get this car going nearly 50 meters. And they're already starting to challenge the high ground with Winthrop not having their brig there quite yet.
They're not going to have their brig. They do have tree on the Hanzo, though, so they'll be giving us a little bit of a different look. We saw what Vision was able to do it on earlier, so let's just say the bar is high for Tree to go ahead and meet. But the players on Maryville even higher in the skies. Collusion leads the Gravitic Flux. Didn't result in too much other than enforcing these important cooldowns, and Squid being relatively low as well. Maryville are slowing down their pace after they push this payload all the way to the Midtown tunnel.
That's a great spot, honestly, to at least drop an initiative. Luke Mino is going to drop Window. A very advantageous position. That'll force a lot of Winthrop to fall, except Kalush, as King just continues to be a little bit of a pest low ground. Oh, my God.
Vision doesn't strike often, but when he does, it's in the heart of Winthrop. He's actually going to grab a second there on the Tree, make it a third. You stick this guy in the sniper, and he can do great things. He has you in your sights, and so is Maryville's third objective here. Winthrop, can they match a contest? It doesn't even seem like they want to pull it out.
Yeah, no, they're not going to. They don't have the time. Infosight will be used to confirm it. Maryville, what, 2 minutes more? I think it was more about a minute more. So what Winthrop had going into third phase, they basically have to get near the finish. They're going to try and force a fight early here. Do not let Winthrop into a comfortable position. Lyra has to rally if things get dicey, however.
They'll have it to use, and Leica will be pulled, assuming that's the target of King's Pulse Bomb. It has been for everyone that we've seen so far. Falsto also has this Gravitic Flux that Cluj hasn't quite been able to get up to yet. The longer that Maryville wait, the more deadly Winthrop become, just in terms of the ultimates they're holding on to in their pockets. Just waiting for this payload to get up to where the teams are actually fighting and paying attention to these tracer duels that have been going on. Vision has shorter sightlines on this objective, and it seems that Winthrop have had enough of the waiting, want to pull the triggers themselves. It'll be the rally, followed up with the Gravitic Flux of False, and doesn't get anywhere too far fast. Either Ultraviolet almost recalling into his own Pulse Bomb, returning back to help clean up False, who is staying on his feet through to his incredible peel, courtesy of Luke Mino and Squid. Winthrop University, though, still plenty to go in the tank, even though we haven't seen any casualties so far. He'll be around from downtown. The Blues will be feeling in his dreams tonight. Vision finally getting the first final blow of this 2-minute-long engagement. Tree has to follow it up with something of his own. At the very least, this Bat Matrix should slow some of Maryville's progress.
But at this point, okay, you have to still find something. Vision has the high ground. That is a dangerous spot to be. They're looking for Ultraviolet. They have no way to contest. A lot of ultimates, 0 deaths really across the board. That really meant much. As Winthrop just got to delay. 1 minute left here for the Saints to try and get a 2-0 advantage.
Incredible how much the pace has changed from map 1 to now here on Midtown. The Kitsune Rush hoping to speed that up. Well, Squid won't be there to escort it along. 53 seconds remaining. If Maryville choose to regroup and back out fully, they can do so with Squid, and that seems to be the option. But can they get Vision out alive, who's able to grapple away and Tree, making sure the high ground is no longer occupied?
Yeah, they're going to make sure, like, hey, we cannot give up something early. We cannot afford to give up anything early during this. Winthrop will have the rally still. If they need a little bit of a regenerative burst of healing, Kaluge getting close to his. Ultraviolet as well. Maryville ults across the board except Squid, who just used theirs.
Sights now. Coming on out, Maryville, plenty of ultimates to work with. Part of the reason why this team is playing slow for this massive ultimate fight, and it's a stick on the Kaluge. The Gravitic Flux is no more. You can't ask for a better pick-off. Maryville needs to end this quickly, though, before the tank returns. Ultraviolet along with it. The Golden Box of victory is in sight, and bodies are falling all over the place, turning the central station into a graveyard. Winthrop, can they actually get the touch on this payload? It'll be Ultraviolet going for a touch, has to recall almost immediately. Someone else has to get there, but they can't do it. Maryville pushing themselves up to a match point against a confident Winthrop team.
That was crazy. Like, they are able to bring back fights that should not be winnable. And an insane turnaround. They're able to find Kaluge before they can get the Gravitic Flux off. Granted, it made, their Gravitic Flux get nothing, but no matter what, you got the kill. That's all you care about there. If you are Maryville, you get Kaluge, you move on in. The rally didn't really get a lot done. They weren't able to use window. That is a perfect fight plan for the Saints.
Beautiful.
Now 2-0 over Winthrop, who,
Incredible.
dare I say, going into this entire tournament of this stage, was the favorites. And right now, down 0-2 in the upper semifinals. And once again, the community rankings are in shambles.
They are. I want to take a second here to quote something that Beats said in the interview that we were able to get him into. Winthrop will win because they are more talented than everyone. Winthrop will win because they're more talented than everyone on an individual level. Maryville have this insane understanding of how to play these macro level of games. While it might look like a snooze fest at times, it's all part of Maryville's plan. They play slow, forcing errors out of Winthrop, and eventually somebody is going to end up getting antsy. It slows down this game pace to a more manageable level, completely flipping what we saw from Busan into Midtown on its head and giving Maryville this lead. I questioned before we went into this game, if Winthrop can win this on a new composition at a new pace, perhaps they have a chance. But with Maryville closing out their attack in an incredible fashion, Jesse, will this be Winthrop going to the loser's bracket?
It's a very real possibility, and St. Clair, who did, by the way, win 3-2 over Rutgers, so that was a banger down there. St. Clair's probably sitting there like, oh, we may play Winthrop? Oh, that's fun. That's cool. That's not really how we wanted to start off our Saturday. As it will be Esperança, the next map. So, again, weirdly enough, going back to Portugal here for Push. It's been the popular pick during this stage of the tournament. A lot of teams don't want to go to Coliseo. New Queen Street can be a little awkward sometimes to play around. And Dante will be coming back in. So that, again, not a massive shock. You want more brawly. They can either run the Ramatra. If they want, they can run the Doom. I don't think it's a horrible idea. But it can still definitely get a little bit tricky.
Still no Juby, though.
No Juby, which this is probably the one I think that's the weirdest. Because Lucio is so critical on this and Flashpoint as well. If we do get to Flashpoint in map 4, I wonder if that's when we'll see Juby. But honestly, the hand is hot right now with the double flex support. So I can't blame them to a degree. Like, let's just run it. If we lose a map, then let's sub Juby in. But for now, it is working. Let's just keep doing it.
And there's no reason to change. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you try to fix it, then you may build something that just topples over, So Maryville are sticking with their guns. Lucamino can play the Lucio, if it has to be a thing. It's not his favorite, but it can work, right? We've seen that in the past. Ideally, get this man on the Ana, stick Squid on the Kiriko. Like, that is some of the best that you're going to see out of the Maryville support line today. Dante, ideally playing one of our faster-paced heroes in Doomfist, potentially the Ramatra, makes an appearance dependent on what Winthrop roll out with. This is the pace that we saw Winthrop struggle to match way back in map number 1. And we have to see now, have they learned anything different? Can they try anything new? Does Kaluj go back onto the D.Va? And I think that's where a lot of Winthrop's theory kind of boils down to, is what are you going to stick Kaluj on against this Maryville team?
And that's the thing that they don't have. They don't have flexibility. Like, heck,
No.
they have Ultraviolet on DPS. Like, it is a very weird position that they are in right now, to where Kaluj is your only tank. No matter what, you gotta find something that he is comfortable in. You gotta find a comp that Ultraviolet is comfortable playing the Tracer on, because it is one of the only heroes on DPS that we've at least seen that he is comfortable to play. So it is a very sticky spot to where Maryville, they have so much diversity in their comps. They can run almost anything depending on what combinations of players they have in. That team play is just an ounce above. And, you know, like you said, Wheat's talking about individually they're better. On paper, yeah. Like, these players are better,
Sure.
but right now, it's not showing. Maryville are being the better team, and they are one map away from a nasty upper final against Northwood.
You can be the best set of individuals out there, but in a game like Overwatch, when you have to play like a team in order to survive, in order to win, it completely negates this sort of advantage that you may think you have. Winthrop have only lost a total of five maps throughout the, 11 matches that they've played in the Overwatch Collegiate Cup. 2 of them have been to Maryville. Now on the losing end of a match point. Kaluj back on this Ramatra tree. Cassidy strong as ever. Must be enough to stop the momentum that Maryville have on their side. Maintaining the sort of mental that you have going on. The speed advantage puts Maryville at a back site here. They can't really play directly into Ramatra, nor do they want to. Where their supports have to position. It's going to be on Vision, getting a pick. Luke Mino hitting a Bionade into the back line. Maryville know what their win cons are, and Winthrop are just at their mercy.
And there you go, forces the Suzu out early. They can't save Ultraviolet. Vision is just looking all around like, hey, yeah, look at Dante, hey, don't look at me. Or like, if you just want to ignore me, cool. I'll just, snipe your backline. Liar, dead. Ultraviolet, dead. And Winthrop couldn't find a way to push in because we talked about in the last series. If the supports and hit scans can just sit up here on this bridge, it is very difficult to really punish them.
They're untouchable, right? How do you even get there? That was another Bionade! That Luke Mino just yeeted in from who knows where and set Maryville up for another massive explosion. This burst damage, you get a punch-in from Dante, maybe a rail shot from Vision, King simply existing, and Maryville pushed this bot continuously forwards. Kaluj has to make a switch, and I'm so glad he's on D.Va now.
Yeah, a swap needed to be made. You just can't run Ramatra into this. I know it's pushed. Usually it's the rush that's king, but Esperança is the one sub-map that died is very much viable. Dante's just going in.
Dante's just, at that time he's dead. He went in and he's dead. So Winthrop were able to punish it, and a lot of that was because Kaluj was occupying the rest of the team on the front line, which is what he needs to be doing on the D.Va. I'm honestly surprised Winthrop didn't start out on this competition anticipating what Dante was going to do.
Yeah, I understand, like, you want to go back to the basics. You want to go with what you're comfortable with, and that is the Ramatra comp. But you knew that the Dante Doomfist was coming, right? Like, you knew that was a very real possibility. Especially the fact that Squid and Luke Mino are both still in. They're gonna... Whoa!
Hello? Whoa, okay, this is out there. All right, you're getting in there. I hope you can keep Tree alive. You can't. There's a pocket bomb attached to his shoulder. Squid and King are like, all right, you want to give us some eliminations? Go ahead. We'll go and boost our stats forward. All that really costs pulse bombs and Kitsune rushes on either side.
That pulse was something. I don't know.
It was there. It existed.
It was there. That gave me like a flashback to our first series of the day. That was a little rough. But honestly, like, yes, you do stall out Vision, which honestly is a dub in its own right. But You still gotta win the fight. Maryville, yeah, they're gonna chill. There's no reason to push in, but now there is.
Oh, nice boom!
Oh, what a
That was
boom!
massive! If that boom
And he
doesn't
still
come through
finds the
disaster, unfortunately, you just delivered Dante to Ultraviolet in first class shipping. Like, that is rather unfortunate for your Tracer player. Winthrop, though, happy to at least have the supports online, making this fight somewhat contestable. Sound barrier is now out. I hope they're keeping an eye on the bot because it's inching closer to lose. Drop on down while Tree taking care of the high ground solely by himself. That's enough to at least force them back. Dante was so deep into the backline. Luke Mino had to walk a little leg after him, and it got nowhere to the back. That's an overclock that was committed. Vision?
It was. Okay, both teams are kind of throwing out the cues like it's, you know,
Okay.
it's a buffet. I guess we're even now on that line. That's a... Huh. That's something. Squid will go over to the brig
Yeah.
now because of the fact that Kalu's is on Diva. I like the swap.
Okay.
Like, you don't need to run the Suzu because what are you really going to cleanse? Yes, you got Pulse. That's really about it. That's all you really need to
Yeah.
cleanse. You might as well try and have Luke Mino have their little bodyguard to try and make sure Dante can
Exactly.
stay up as this bot is just stuck in Archway. Winthrop got to find a way to push ahead.
No. It'll be Tree, though. That's a beautiful Suzu. At least keeps Tree from taking the brunt of damage. That's the same for Squid. He's not having a great time on this break at all, or really just support in general. He's taking the beating to keep Luke Mino alive, who therefore can help Dante. Yet in these moments where he's just cut off from the rest of his team, there's little that can be done. Kalush is absolutely carrying Winthrop, highest target prioritization right now.
This is great from Winthrop.
This
They're
gives
able
them
to
the lead.
get the lead and they're able to get the tick.
Beautiful.
That is massive there for Winthrop as they find Squid early. Like you said, Squid not having fun playing the video game right now. It's just them getting targeted time and over. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, all right, where's the brig? That is honestly Winthrop's comms right now. Where's the brig?
Yep.
Kill the brig, win the fight. And so far, they've been able to do it 2 times in a row. They get the lead, they get the tick. And now Maryville, they are in a sticky situation with just over half the time gone.
No. If you're Winthrop, you just stall time. You play on this bridge as much as you want. If Maryville have to push forwards, it just favors your team even more. King eventually snatches control of the robot, but uh-oh, your grandma is no longer with the living. Ultraviolet takes care of that eventually. Dante shall punish him for his crimes. It's just great positioning from Winthrop. They've really stepped it up until I look where the robot is positioned. Jesse, surely not again.
Not again. They flipped the spawns. Winthrop
They
will
did.
have a long spawn if they have somebody die right now. The
Yeah.
thing is, just King gets out. Wow.
How?
Squid pumps the packs in, and that changes the
What?
entire complexion of this fight. Because now all of a sudden, Maryville feel way more comfortable.
Oh! And that's Tree. Yeah, nope, you can't really make there's a punch. Kalush did all that he could, but your little Tree is now set and burned. Maryville grabbing this robot again, though. They're trying their best to push this while these fights are going on, which is great, especially with how much of an impact that has on the outcome of this match.
That's big. Instead of the bot being just crossing over mid now, just flipping over those spawns, most of Winthrop
Yeah.
would at least have had that close spawn. Instead, the bot will get the tick for Maryville.
Yeah.
And arguably might be able to get the lead depending on how Winthrop want to play this. They have both support ults. They have beat to try and initiate if they want, but Maryville got ults as well.
Yeah, 4 of them to be exact. One of those check marks about to go out. Which ones, though? Honestly, you have to favor Winthrop just with how good these support ultimates are,
Yes.
especially after King pump. It's a whole lot of nothing. Tree grabs Squid on the high ground. Massive elimination, not even really needing that sound barrier too much. These support ults are just so gosh dang good, regardless of what Maryville threw out them. They don't win these fights off of ultimates at all.
No, and they're able to get the stagger onto Luke Mino. Luke Mino does not get close spawn. Dante will not get close spawn. I don't know if Squid did either, to be honest.
Ooh.
Dante will go off the Doom. This is very similar to what they did over on Busan,
Okay.
where very late on, they
Okay.
swap over to the Ratra, make Winthrop uncomfortable, and they're going to do it again. Dante will try and rush in. The only thing this time, Kalush doesn't have the self-destruct. So they're going to be at least more willing to swap late into this game.
Yes. The main issue, though, is now there's not any contention for RuPaul and Tree on this high ground. It's on to King, potentially working his way up the stairs, or Vision just firing shots down from above. Kalush eventually has to retreat, as it does take a while to heal up the Diva mech with just a Kiriko and a Lucio. Vision is doing his job well, and just pushing people down. Squid, though, is this little assassin who has snuck his way through the team once again, grabbing Tree. So that high ground threat nullified quite a bit. So Winthrop have to back off. Maryville take the space that they are no longer afraid of, and at least can sustain for the time being. Winthrop have the ultimate advantage at this point in time and want to employ it to their best degree. It's on Vision to shut it down, stuck with a pulse bomb, but didn't go down at least without a fight. Kalush is out of mech here. Dante is getting close to an ultimate of his own. This is a full commit now. Maryville know how important it is for them to win this fight. With only 90 seconds remaining, and they're gonna manage to clean it up and hopefully grab these spawns.
Liar's the only one who got close spawn. Everybody else for Winthrop gets far spawn. Kalush does make the swap. They'll go back over to the Ramacho that they wanted to start this map on. Liar is the one that dies so early, and that is the critical one there for Maryville that got them that fight win, because they were at 93% the sound barrier. If Winthrop were able to play around beats, we could have a completely different fight on our hands, but instead, Dante, they have the Annihilation. They will have to deal with it, but they at least have their own now to try and counteract.
Esperança coming down to the wire here. Whoever wins this next engagement, likely to win the entire map. Luke Mino speeding on forward. The Annihilation advantage here is going to be massive, especially when Liar presses the trigger first. Yet Vision has fallen down. It's even more pressure onto this tank to make an impact. Dante zoning off Winthrop, hoping to buy a few more meters for the team, and they only need a couple past that little golden bar. Tree almost has an overclock online as well. He can manage to build this up, have some sort of elimination potential, especially with how low Dante is. He's struggling to cling on to life. Squid going down, making that job a whole lot more difficult. Tree, oh my goodness, the damage that has been pumped in through this tank, through Dante. Winthrop, oh, they're not done just yet. A very close game that Maryville have been holding on to. It's solely Vision, though. It's a 1v3. Surely he can't clutch this out. He gets one more into Ultraviolet, and the flame of Maryville isn't going to be extinguished. Like, look how fast they're returning. They're switching to these Fox heroes. They're so quick at the return. Kalush is now separated. Somebody else has to get about to touch. Is there even a player of Winthrop in sight? Yes, Liar makes his way through the top ceiling. They're still in this tree. Glad he held on to the overclock as long as he did, because you're going to need it. Oh, Squid, RuPaul, the bodies are flying all over the place. This cross-checkered line is going to come down to the wire, and it's Winthrop who cleans it up at the end of the day, keeping their heads above water and not going down without a fight.
Whew. What was that?
I thought
That
it
was
done.
an insane end to that. I don't know if you caught it. It was Squid that died to that overclock shot. I was just shooting at Dante. They're trying to burn down the ram, but Squid just gets caught with a collateral, and that is so unlucky for Squid. Honestly, if Squid lives, maybe the map is done. Maybe the series is done. But instead, Winthrop just barely scraped by on Esperança, made it way too close for themselves. Like you said, it's a 2v2. It's just Vision. It's Vision, though. Vision almost
it's
brings
Vision,
that
man.
back for Maryville. What a finish on a map that it looked like it was going to be Winthrop's to lose, and it almost was.
I thought I was going to have the biggest caster curse of my life. But you know what? Hey, Winthrop stuck it out. Tree came back in, did more than enough that was needed with an overclock, and is going to keep Winthrop still a kicking here. But oh my goodness, was that close. By far the best contest Winthrop have shown against a team like Maryville. In moments like that tail end of the map there, Jesse, that's where your individuals can start to shine. When Maryville do not have the players to coordinate these team plays, Tree can come alive and just rip heads off. Kalush zones them. Ultraviolet is just a nuisance in the backline. Winthrop, if they can force that kind of play, great. You can squeak out map wins, but my goodness, Jesse, that was way too close. Can they manage to do that for a second time?
They need to do that 2 more times. That's the issue for
I
Winthrop. You need to win 2 more maps. Granted, Flashpoint, I think arguably is a more comfortable map type for them because they want more of the rush, right? No matter if you go to Saravasa, you go to New Junk, and more than likely it's gonna be more rush. Obviously, Maryville will try and force the Doomfist, but I do think at least composition-wise on what normally goes on those maps, it is in the favor of Winthrop. But whew, hey, you still got a long way to go, but at least you squeaked through map 3 to keep it going.
Oh, there's so much that Winthrop, we know what they're capable of. We've talked
Yeah.
about it all day long. They're a stacked roster. You're going to get sick of us hearing this, right? But now we can actually see that stacked roster form that into a map win. They've lost only 5 maps in like 12 or so games they've played within the OWCC. 2 of those have been against Maryville. And I have a feeling they're not going to let that be a third just yet. But man, like this has been an incredible team to watch that isn't done fighting yet. If you have missed out on these first couple of maps, ooh, I have the thing for you. Go ahead and take a peek at the Overwatch Esports socials, where you can go ahead and catch up on any action that you have missed, as well as the entirety of the Collegiate Cup that we have going on this weekend. And just to say that these are 2 of the best teams you're going to find within collegiate competition. There's a reason we had such high expectations for this map, Jesse.
It is ridiculous, the expectations going in. Like, depending on how lowers goes, depending on how tomorrow's upper final goes, maybe it's the grand final preview. We have no idea. Because honestly, there is 4 teams, I think, in everybody's mind that could be in that final. Northwood, Maryville, Winthrop, ISU. Fisher, I think, is on the outside looking in. But
Yeah.
Winthrop got just a little bit of work to do. We're going to let them take a quick little break, figure out what their plan is for Flashpoint here in just a few minutes.
have finally shown us what the win means in their college name and have gotten themselves up a map, keeping themselves in this series, but barely. Jesse, that was a slugfest of an Esperança, a struggle bus to the very end, yet Winthrop clutched it out and now can play on Suravasa, the first map pick Maryville has in this series.
That is maybe one of the most insane endings to a map I have ever seen. The fact that Maryville get the touch from Dante and are able to get back all the way within meters of finishing off the sweep, but it gets shut down. And that was an incredible performance from both sides. But like you said, Winthrop, they keep this one going just a little bit longer. And for finally, we talked about it. Hey, when are we going to see Juby? We finally will. They will be subbing in for Lucamino this map, which screams that the Lucio is going to be played here from Maryville, but Dante is not out. So again, more of the Doomfist and more of the Ramatra coming in for the Saints.
Yeah. Doom, Ramatra, maybe a bit of Bauga. We've seen a lot of Bauga over this past weekend, yet none of it has come from either Winthrop or Maryville. Both do prefer that Ramatra just by personal pick, which isn't terrible in a lot of these points. So we're anticipating this more head-on sort of fight. Luke Mino has done incredible work on this game, but Flashpoint is all about mobility, this movement, your positioning, and if you don't have a Lusco to escort you there, that is like the biggest disadvantage you could have in Team Overwatch.
We saw that on Sunday when Rutgers were like, hey, we don't have a Lucio.
Yep.
And they struggled because of it. Yes, they tried to run their double flex support comp that we've seen Maryville trying to run in a different capacity throughout the night, and it just doesn't work. You only get one fight at it, and it just does not work for this map type. So I completely understand, hey, Juby, you're going to go in. You haven't played all night, but we hope you're warm enough to get going here. Try and finish this series off before it gets eerily close to a reverse sweep in favor of Winthrop. And you see the team starting to load in here as Maryville are going to go the Ramatra. That Gator, they want the reverse sweep. They're asking for it. Time will tell, though, if Winthrop actually give it to them.
Yeah. The Gator wasn't even funny. It was just sitting there, smiling at you. It's smiling for some
Just
good quality
smiling.
Overwatch. And, oh, you know what I see? I see King on Genji here for the first time. Genji is the hero that King built a name for himself on. So getting that as an appearance, I am looking forward to this one. Still rocking the Vancouver Titan skin even now, which is incredible to see. Winthrop, though, sticking with good old faithful Ultraviolet on the Tracer. He's the one player that has not made any adjustments, and I do not expect that to change at all throughout today. Winthrop on the objective right now, though. Suzu is forced out, so that could be a window of opportunity. Should there actually be an aggressive approach? Problem is, those punchy fist things were out way beforehand, and King can orchestrate his dive into the backline and make it look easy. Tree chopped down into, well, really firewood, and the rest of the team is about to follow suit thanks to Dante's punching fists.
That was, just slowly. Maryville, okay, we can just slow it down. They had to use Caesar early, so they knew Winthrop were going to try and get aggressive, and they did, just to no avail. And Maryville take advantage of that. They push back in. Like I said, Tree got sent for firewood. Maryville doing their best lumberjack impression, which I don't think Tree is going to appreciate very much here. As Winthrop, they're going to do the wide rotation. They're not going to try and play it early. They will try and play this one out by point and try and set up Tree in these long sight lines.
Tree, if you can give him room to cook, oh, this guy is incredible. However, he's had a target on his back since the very first time he stepped foot onto this map. King was even the one sent out to deal with him, and Tree ends up getting the better of it thanks to the support of Liar and RuPaul. Sune Rush certainly helping in those endeavors. Pulse Bomb there for Ultraviolet shouldn't really be needed. Winthrop will get a flip of control, allowing for one more contest before the market ends.
Yeah, they're at least about to get to 99 from Maryville, but Winthrop just going in. Again, Tree wasn't even the big win con there. They do catch King very early, so that will, stunt the push here for Maryville and maybe turn this from a potential 2-fight maybe even a one-fight point here
Okay.
for them to try and make something out of this, and they don't have the Kitsune Rush to work with, as both teams had to use the last fight. Maryville, just like Winthrop, don't want to play early. They will try and play this out by point.
Yeah, but Ultraviolet, he's looking for this pulse bomb. If he gets this out here early, especially onto somebody like King or even Juby, that's an even better pick. There's no sound barrier in the way. Tree is going wild on this map, and oh, it's just made for him. Look how much space that Kaluj and Winthrop have bought for this guy to just work. If you give this guy room to hit the shots, he's gonna come back and deliver.
Railgun still at full power.
All of a sudden, that turns into a very winnable fight for Winthrop. As soon as Juby's down, like you said, no beats. Vision gets caught out on the rotation out,
touch?
so they can't use the overclock. It'll be a very rushed push. They're going to use beat to enter.
They get beat to enter, and King barely gets his way over to the objective. Lyra goes down before the sound barrier went out. I just caught that at the tail end. Winthrop, we're relying on that. If anyone on Maryville decides to press the Q button, this is as good as done. Dante, Cluj had to do it first, and he doesn't last long at all. Winthrop struggling to stay on their feet. Lyra finally returning with the sound barrier into play. King deciding his moment is now, swinging out his Dragon Blade, slicing one, looking for a second. Lyra stays on his feet just barely. Dante is there with some good old-fashioned melee damage. Winthrop heavily investing into this fight. That was 4 ultimates at the tail end, just to lose at the end of the day. Maryville come up with markets.
Whoa. They're making it interesting, that's for sure, Tiny. They want this going to the top of the ratings of most interesting series so far. They will get a great rotation over to the second Flashpoint. As Winthrop, they have to reset. Cluj will now go back over to the Ramatra. They thought they'd be able to stall long enough for the Doomfist to actually get there in time, but instead, it was more of an extra stagger than it was anything else. Vision still has the overclock. Tree had to use it to try and make that fight interesting. So it could be Vision just setting the tone early here if they are not the victim of the Ultraviolet Pulse Bomb.
Even just having this overclock in general is great. Nobody on Winthrop wants to beat this guy. Ultraviolet, why were you standing there, my dude? It's not like Vision's just gonna look the other way. Well, that's one head that he sent rolling down today, and Maryville are turning that into about 4 more. Oh, yeah.
Ultraviolet, did you not get taught to look on both sides of the street before you cross? You gotta look out for some overclock shots coming out from Vision. They did use Pulse Bomb. That is even worse for Winthrop, as that is a disaster. As they lose the fight, they don't get Pulse Bomb off, and they don't even get a real fight, to be honest. Maryville just press W, push in, and behind Vision, able to make the difference. 50% already and growing. Kitsune Rush available. RuPaul still has not built up their second, and that could be a big issue as Winthrop need to be the aggressive team.
Squid made a great call by holding on to this Kitsune Rush for the next fight. Only a matter of time before it's actually pulled, but they wait too long. Tree has gotten almost every single initiating elimination for Winthrop so far, and Maryville, this is one of the few times they don't pull that trigger fast enough. It at least forces the Winthrop back. They can't really make a reasonable contest. They wait for RuPaul to have his ultimate of its own, and the beat falls just past Squid. Also gets sent 6 feet under. King pulling out his ultimate, hoping for the basket. It's all Tree in the kill feed. Gardens was made for him.
Yeah, that was honestly a really good fight for Winthrop. You can't lie. Tree is able to get 3. Yes, they lose RuPaul.
Squid?
Squid, are you keeping that? Squid? What? I was about to say. There is no way Lifeweaver is getting thrown out. I was shocked enough we saw Venture. Happily surprised on that line. Lifeweaver would have been a whole other issue. But they are going to stick with the normal comp, as Winthrop in a massively nice position here to try and make it 1-1. Ult advantage thoroughly in their favor.
It was a terrible fight for Maryville to lose, so Winthrop just don't have to press any of their big old flashy Q buttons. They hold on to them here, and realistically, Jesse, that just forces a single fight on this objective. The only thing Maryville may have coming up here is Vision's overclock, and there's a sound barrier if you need it. Kaluj can zone anybody off from contesting this objective. If Winthrop loses this, it's on their own accord.
Yeah, honestly, like, they have Annihilation, they have the sub area if things get dicey, they have the Pulse Bomb to try and set them early, but Ultraviolet gotta live. They use it early just to try and deny the overclock.
And that Pulse Bomb, perfect. Vision blown up into smithereens and Winthrop. Yep, you have the ultimate advantage. You win a fight, and that's a second thing that defines Flashpoint maps. How do you manage your economy? And you got two teams that surpass all expectations on it.
It'll be a cross-map rotation. I don't mind them getting super aggressive there. Especially with the way Vision has been playing tonight. You don't want to take any chances, right? Like you saw, Ultraviolet was low. I'm pretty sure Kaluge was not at full health. You just gotta pop it because you cannot afford to go down 2-0, especially on Surabasa.
No, absolutely not. These Flashpoint maps feel like that they could snowball so quickly. Winthrop still even have the Annihilation here. That's even further into this ultimate management territory that's really gonna help. Maryville can pull out this Kitsune, yet Kluge paints this objective purple in his own favorite color. And he just has to stand there, hold right click, put his arms up in front of his face, lives to see another day. King looking to change those smiles into frowns if the pulse bomb gets nowhere too far fast. Maryville have played this load enough, though, where Dante now has Annihilation of his own, and Maryville has control of this objective, forcing the Sound Bearer a little bit early, hoping Dante can hold the tank ultimate of his own, which seems to be the case. Kudos to Maryville, playing patiently and allowing Winthrop to expend their resources first.
Yeah, you can just see Dante was just sitting there like, yeah, you can use Annihilation on me. I have the heals. I'm fine. Like, there's no issue with me. Fine tree up there. I think they just get on with maybe 30 health.
What?
Which is at least big. Pulse bomb. Oh, and Vision almost slid into that. Okay, little bit of a slippery slope. I know that's the saying, but that almost got a little deadly.
Well, hey, you know what? You still got Vision. He's gonna live to see another day. Tree does have something to say about that in our good old-fashioned OC. Overclock. Ideally moving over to the backlines here. This is some wonderful sightlines he can work with. It will be a trade 1-for-1. Vision built up the ultimate of his own, putting a silencer on the young rookie. Doesn't really find too much else. Working his way into the backline. Finally time for Dante to pop that ultimate of his own. Waited to the point, got close to 90%. When Winthrop don't have a choice but to contest. The health advantage simply too much in favor of Maryville's tank. And that will be likely a second objective captured, putting Maryville up at a map point.
Yes, like you just said, like, oh, you know, Vision is in a great spot. You know, Trio used the overclock, finds King. But you weren't looking at the other overclock that's going on. It sets up the entire fight for Maryville just to slow it down, and they will have the best rotation over to the 4th flashpoint of this map. And now Winthrop, you gotta win 2 more just to keep the reverse sweep going. Maryville in a great spot. They have the high ground. Winthrop will try and challenge that first before this flashpoint unlocks.
Always fighting for this high ground. Most important on Palace. RuPaul, though, pulls the Kitsune Rush first, and now Squid doesn't really have a great position to do his. It's only a desperate effort to keep Dante on his feet. King, Pulse Bomb, looking to break through the shield before he commits on in. Sees the Annihilation. Perfect time to do so. Albeit stuck close. He's going to hang on to a sliver of HP. But not until Dante, Vision pouncing down from above, giving Maryville his first capture.
That was great. And like, what else can you say? Winthrop feel like they're in the power position. They push on in. They use the Kitsune Rush. They use the Annihilation as Tree gets staggered out. And Cluj feels in a great spot. And all of a sudden, Maryville like, we can still win this. They pop the beat. They're able to get King to stick the Pulse Bomb onto Cluj. They have to play safe. Suzu is not in time from RuPaul. And a very heavy investment from Winthrop does not get the harvest that they are hoping for. And all of a sudden, they need to win this fight. Point blank, Molly. If they don't, they may be sent to lower bracket tonight.
Winthrop, spot they never expected to be. Dante, though, I've bit off more than he can chew. His health bar is struggling to stay afloat. Squid and Juby working overtime to allow him to exist further into this game. Has to be on King now. It goes out to Liar. It can't
Ajax!
The Ajax, he can't do anything about it. King, oh, the absolute dominant force in the Tracer department. Winthrop, they have to struggle for a next contest, or maybe their last.
They're going to hunt down Ultraviolet in the back. They know they're here. King's able to recall out of the Pulse Bomb.
They can't get
it. Do they touch?
No, they can't get to the point. There's nobody.
They don't.
In sight. Oh, King ended the fight before it could even start. Winthrop thought that they were best, thought that they could be the champions. Yet it's the Maryville Saints consistent at recovering from that rough patch and becoming the new team to beat.
King with a royal dismantling of the entire fight plan for Winthrop. As soon as the Ajax happens, Winthrop, no, it is a rough spot to be in, as it'll be Maryville. What a performance. Everybody knew Maryville could do this. For a while, can they actually do it? They've been struggling at lanes as of late. They had a disappointing performance in a few other tournaments. The worry was, is this another disappointing performance for them in this? But they, in true Maryville fashion, they bring it back. They take down the team that everybody, oh, it's the big flashing lights, the big flashing names. But it's not enough in this. You got to actually have the teamwork to go with it. In Maryville, they book a spot in the top 3, and they have a date with Northwood tomorrow.
And a highly important match that they have to look forward to. But to be totally honest with you, despite both these teams saying, oh, we're confident in beating each other, how much is that really? You have to be looking at each other and think this is the most competitive match that you're going to find within Overwatch Collegiate as a whole. Maryville had a better understanding the majority of this series of how to play the game. I want to especially highlight King. Not necessarily for winning out on like a lot of 1v1s, but his elimination potential, but also how he played off on these objectives, his positioning and his ability to control space quietly carried Maryville through several of these fights and engagements that looked losable. I mean, the Saints have really created themselves into a super team, taking down Winthrop, the one that nobody thought could be beaten.
This was the coming out party for King.
It is.
This, honestly, this series was like, obviously their name has been thrown around time and time again, but this was like, no, they are one of the best DPS, period. No questions asked. They're the reason why Flashpoint is the direction. That's the reason why they don't have to go to Escort to try and finish off this series. What a showing from Maryville. And Winthrop, all of a sudden, you got a few extra games to play if you want to make this dream a reality. Because, like, you look at this roster, it's championship or bust with the expectations. You know, Wheats talked about it. And it got a lot harder to avoid that bust outcome if you are not able to get the rest of the performances now in line. They will play St. Clair tomorrow for a spot to continue on. I think they actually may play 2 if they beat St. Clair. They played the winner of ISU Fisher. So to think about it, we could get ISU Winthrop tomorrow in a game just to avoid not finishing 4th. That is the state of collegiate Overwatch we are in, and it is a beautiful and yet fatal thing.
Somebody had to lose at the end of the day, and both you and I had predicted Winthrop to take the win. Both you and I had predicted a Winthrop ISU grand finals. Now, it's not even possible. Maryville are far and above what many people have expected them. Like, even myself casting a lot of their other performances lately, it's been rather disappointing, and they should feel proud of this incredible comeback and the showcase of their true skill that they can have in a high-level collegiate tournament.
That was an insane performance from Maryville. You gotta think, like, they beat Winthrop today. They beat ISU, who a lot of players, coaches, teams were looking at. And also, they're in the upper bracket final against Northwood tomorrow. It is an insane turnaround, and it just felt like nothing could go wrong. Yes, they lose a very tight push map, which honestly, like we said, could have gone either way. Honestly, I wouldn't have been surprised if it went either way. But the fact that they're able to show these niche comps, Winthrop just did not have an answer for it. And that is when the scrim time that they have not had as a full 5 really hurt them, because they didn't have the full team answers to the awkward comps that Maryville were trying to run. They didn't have a real answer for the Dante Doomfist all the time. And when those counter swaps were made, they were not quick enough to make it happen. And Maryville, you got to give all the credit to them. This was their win tonight, not Winthrop throwing it away. And they showed that they are one of the best in the country.
And you have to think, too, after Maryville finishing 2nd in their last 3 collegiate competitions at a maximum, like, that doesn't feel good. There's a lot of teams that would just take that, keep their heads down, and like, all right, this just may not be our year. No, they took it back to the grindstone, and are like, hey, this is the tournament that will fully fill that throne that is left open at the top of collegiate Overwatch. We have changes in leads for who everyone thinks is the best literally every single week. Maryville have just shown that they are a candidate for that #1, guaranteeing themselves at least a third place finish. And it was an incredible showing to watch, and is largely due to players such as Juby, who can play into this team-oriented play style that we've seen Maryville get down to a T. And Juby, I just have to ask, you take down Winthrop, the team that every other coach, team, player has put as the one to beat to make the grand finals, taking them down 3-1. How does that feel right now?
It feels great. Yeah, we're all super excited that we could beat this team.
What do you felt went right tonight? Like, it could be obviously an abundance of things, but it seemed like almost every single game plan you guys had going in worked wonderfully.
Nothing in particular, I guess. We thought ISU would be the best team going into this, and we've already beaten them, so it's given us a lot of confidence going into this match. We weren't too worried about Winthrop in particular.
Fair enough. And was it weird for you this series? You only went in at map 4. How
Yeah.
are you guys trying to look at this with obviously you, Luke Mino, and Squid kind of rotating in and out depending on what comp you're running?
Yeah, it just kind of depends on the map. It's kind of weird because I was actually playing most of the maps before they like randomly changed the map pool. But now there's a lot of maps where we're playing a few different comps that don't require Lucio. So I'm playing a lot less maps now, but it's not a problem for our team. It's why we have 2 flex supports, you know. I think we're pretty strong on many comps, so I think it's a pretty big advantage for us. I feel like we're one of the only teams that you see playing these something like a Doom comp or a Sigma comp. A lot of teams just want to stick to the Ram or Maga Rush, something like that.
And especially like having this more niche composition, for lack of a better word, that it can totally dismantle these incredible players that we do see within Overwatch Collegiate. Like, how do you think that prepares you for the match that you have coming up ahead against somebody like Northwood, who has made these incredible runs on these Malga compositions?
We honestly feel pretty confident in the Maga mirror. Every time we've played a Maga mirror in Collegiate, we seem to do very well. And it's pretty similar to a Ram mirror, which we also feel confident on. And like I said before, I think our team rated ISU above the other teams. They've been giving us the most like difficulty. So I'm sure Northwood would be a tough match like today, but I think we can beat them pretty easily.
If you had to face off any team, say we were to make it to the grand finals coming up on this Sunday, would you rather it be against ISU to kind of have this full wraparound? I know in a lot of these tournaments that ISU has been that team to give you trouble. Now that you've beaten them once, do you think it's likely that you'll end up facing them again in something like this?
Yeah, that's my prediction. They'll definitely, I think they'll be in the grand finals, but I think the top 4 is pretty close. Like the match today was pretty close. I think Northwood is good. I think Winthrop is good. I feel like depending on the day, any of those teams could beat each other, so we might end up playing one of those, but I think it'll probably be ISU.
Fair enough. And honestly, like you guys have, looked just phenomenal throughout the last few months. What was it about like this final stretch? You had a rough stretch at lands as over the last few weeks. Is there something different that's clicking now that's really putting you guys above the rest?
Honestly, I thought we were doing pretty well until we went to 2 lands back to back for 2 weekends, and then obviously we're in college, so it kind of we're traveling a lot, and then we have like finals and things like that. People are super stressed out, not a lot of time, and then we also didn't have the greatest setups at LAN. It's not the greatest excuse, but it kind of like I think it messed with a lot of people, and it kind of made a lot of people play worse, and it made our team worse a bit. But ever since we've been back, we've been pretty much back to normal, feeling good again.
And so glad to hear that from you guys. This is Maryville in your prime form, one of the most decorated schools within the entirety of collegiate esports, not just in Overwatch. And it's great for you guys to see this momentum kind of thrown back in your sails, heading in to this final stretch that you have going on here. 2 more days of competition, 1 more match for you guys coming up tomorrow at the bare minimum. We're looking forward to seeing you guys there. Juby, before we go ahead and send you off with Maryville, so go ahead and prepare for your game against Northwood. Do you have anything that you would like to say on the stream today about your performance? Any shout outs you'd like to make?
Any shout outs? Not particularly, I guess, but I do want to say the job is not finished. The job is not finished. We still got 2 games to go. I think we can hit a little 3-0 into a 4-0. Maybe drop a map or 2 if we're not playing well. but we're good to win. It's been a few years. I'm tired of Northwood winning this stuff. We need to come back. You know what I'm saying?
Well, we're so looking forward to that matchup against Northwood tomorrow. So we'll go ahead and let you go. Get some good night's rest. I'm looking forward to seeing you and Maryville back on the fighting grounds again tomorrow.
All right, thank you.
Wow. And every time we talk to somebody on Maryville, even though they put out these like incredible performances that you're like, wow, this should be at a professional level, and they are unique in that way, having signed with Luminosity, and just to be like so calm and humble about it, like it's no big deal. This is just kind of everyday things for us, and to hear it from somebody like Juby, who's one of the most experienced players in collegiate, in fact, the first collegiate player to go up into Overwatch League, is really incredible to hear.
It'll be interesting tomorrow in that upper final because it will be obviously Juby, who you said was one of the first in collegiate to go up from collegiate into the professional scene. And then it'll be Northwood, where CJ entered after Landon was there for a long time, going pro and then coming back and then graduating. So it's a very interesting area we have in that in that upper final tomorrow. We're gonna give you one final look here at the bracket, how we are entering on the Saturday. Like we said a few times already, Northwood, Maryville, two of the most decorated programs in collegiate Overwatch, will fight for a spot in that grand final tomorrow. That should be a match that everybody has circled on their calendars for tomorrow. Make sure you come by and watch that and continue getting those exclamation point drops. And on the lower end, it got a little bit more dicey down here. Fisher ISU, St. Clair Winthrop will be those lower quarterfinals. And honestly, from this point on, it's going to be banger after banger.
It doesn't get much better than this. I mean, these are all the teams that we expected to be within these top slots. St. Clair Saints making a return to a lot of these positions after, sticking around this top 10 area sort of rankings to have this appearance within now the top 6, I believe we are currently in, is a great spot for them. Tough game coming up against Winthrop, though. And Jesse, with so many series yet to come, we have 4 games tomorrow, 2 more on to Sunday. It's nearly impossible to predict the outcome of any of these series today, just because it is solely dependent on the changes, all of the work that these schools have continued to put in across these past several months.
A lot of us have our predictions. Like I put mine out on social media. But in reality, we don't know what's going to happen.
Don't know.
And that's the beautiful thing about this year. Like in past years, like, oh, it's maybe 1 or 2 teams, right? It's been Northwood or Maryville, Northwood or ISU. It's been kind of predictable on who's going to be in that final. This year, I don't know. I don't know. Tomorrow is going to be chaos in that lower bracket and in that upper final. I cannot wait to see how it goes. And make sure, everybody, you stay tuned. You watch tomorrow. Make sure you follow on X, on Twitter, on YouTube, Twitch. Everybody's still calling on that on accident, it seems like. OW_esports. Make sure you stay tuned. Continue to get those drops if you haven't got everything already, because these next 2 days are going to be the just epitome. Wow, my brain is starting to shut down with how these games have been going. The epitome of collegiate Overwatch at its finest. So make sure you watch, turn on notifications, because it'll be an incredible 2 last days here of the Overwatch Collegiate playoffs.
And we started with 355 teams, and we are going down to 6. Again, so much more to come up in the next 2 days of competition. Class ain't out just yet, people. We'll go ahead and see you on the flip side. It's been Tiny, Shiny, and Twin Salty, and get back here for tomorrow evening's broadcast.